Hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.
Getting ready to prep, getting ready to try and give you something. And I have to say, I think the bots, the social engineering, everything has really taken over, because they were talking about the World Cup this and that, and Messier and Ronaldo and all these people with World Cup coverage. We go now to our correspondent, Jonathan Savage, who joins us live from London. That's right, from Idaho to London, right here, courtesy of Fox News Radio on 580 KIDO. And I thought of you immediately, and then the other story was the Tartan Army had as we had discussed a week ago, had drank the city of Boston dry. Now they're moving on, and I'm going, who does that except Jonathan Savage? So good morning.
Hello, good morning. So the Tartan Army left a bit of an impression in Boston. There's a bar there called the Dubliner, where they spent an awful lot of time and an awful lot of money. Now, Scotland's great rivals, of course, are England. We don't get on that very well in sporting terms. The Dubliner decided to close on the day of the England game. Out of apparent loyalty to Scotland. They decided to give their staff the day off, giving us an awful lot of money just to be petty. I approve.
If you ever go to D.C., there's a famous bar called the Dubliner. It's right off Capitol Hill, and it's where anyone goes. It's truly right next to the Fox Bureau. So if they ever put you up in D.C., maybe they have, chances are you'll stay at the hotel where the Dubliner is. But, every time we talk about Boston and Sam Adams, part of my life, I grew up in New England. But my Sam Adams story doesn't come from my New England part of my life. It comes from my Pittsburgh part of my life. Sam Adams, when it first started, it was just a brand. They didn't even have a facility. And it was just all marketing. And the guy, I met the guy. I actually interviewed him in Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is such a beer town. And I would do a nightly talk show on cable television. Not cable access, Jonathan Savage. No, the real cable. And I would... it was fascinating hearing how they just created this Boston ale, this Sam Adams, from literally smoke and mirrors. And part of the story of your boys and your girls, I don't know if there are any women in the Tartan Army, was they kept showing cases and cases of Sam Adams having to be flown into Boston, when in reality, I believe the thing was manufactured in Pittsburgh, at least initially. So there you go.
Did the Bostonians know about this?
You didn't, probably not. You didn't get that from any of your little ne'er-do-well friends now, did you? No, you know what you get from them? Hey, Jonathan Savage, let me read the run sheet and tell us what's going on, sir. Oh, Mr. Savage, you know so much.
Is that your best JT impression, or do you do another one?
That's my best John Mounts impression.
I did John Mounts impression. Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, I still have nightmares over when we work together. Yeah, you should. It's what we call motivation. That's what we call real men talking about real issues, saving the world, if you will. And lo and behold, Mugara, we've got the European perspective on the World Cup. I didn't even have to read the run sheet to get this. Oh, Czechoslovakia is doing this. Basso, whatever country, is doing that. We don't know anything about these countries, but we've been conditioned by the algorithm. In the old days, we used to run the algorithm. Now the algorithm runs us, sir.
Well, what's an algorithm got to do with this? I mean, at the moment, my boss is not artificial intelligence. It's probably going to happen at some point. It's going to happen to all of us. You and I will be replaced by robots, won't we? But for now, let's just try and deal with the troubles that we've got before we manufacture new ones.
Oh yeah, let's just ignore Ignore the reality. Yeah, ignore the pain. Ignore everything else. Let's just go have a Boston Ale, a Sam Adams, a Bud, whatever else we can afford in Seattle, and just call it a career. Not me. I'm not going out like that. Maybe you, but not me.
Okay, I mean, for me, retirement is an ambition, but for you, it's something I think to be staved off as long as possible, I guess.
You know, I made a lot of poor decisions as a youth. There'll be no retirement for me. There'll just be a change in venue. Could be at the Albertsons in Star, Idaho. Could be, I don't know where else it could be. It could be, hey,
the old folks' home.
They could go. I could be working at the Dairy Queen in Star or the McDonald's, and they go, hey, man, I'll have a number one. Well, sir, would you like to upsize that? Hey, is that Kay Millie? Yeah, that's the guy who used to be the champ. And everywhere I go, they'll go, there goes the guy who used to be the champ. Happened to me all the time in Pittsburgh. Oh, you're on TV? Didn't you used to be Kevin Miller? So I'm familiar with this, sir. Now, you that have lived your little golden run existence, the pathway of flowers and primrose and all sorts of sauntering through life, some of us have had to work. You know, I started in Nashua, New Hampshire. I worked my way up, and here I am at the pinnacle of the potato, sir.
You certainly are, top of Potato Mountain, where you deserve to be. Many people will say, and you know,
that's right.
What could be better than that? This has been my favorite segment that we've done, because I have had to do so little talking and so little work. It's been an absolute pleasure. What I've been doing, because you got me looking on for the Dubliner on Google Street View. So I've just been taking a little walk around Washington, D.C. while you've been talking. But I think I've enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yeah, the Dubliner are great fish and chips. Just a great time. They have live music. It is year after year, talk show hosts would have conventions there and such. So that's why I got to go. And sadly, when I covered Reagan's funeral, I stayed at the Capitol Inn Holiday Inn. Lots of great hotels right around. When you go to D.C., you always want to stay close to things. Around the White House is a little bit more expensive, but Capitol Hill has some great hotels. And then you have K Street. So I even journeyed to the Walmart back before D.C. was cleaned up a few times. That was pretty scary, but I was ignorant. So what do we have to... So for the sake of Bo and for the sake of everybody else, I like the World Cup fever because I want to be part of the crowd. What's the latest? Hey, have you seen what's going to happen with Turkey? What about the match play? Home match. Huh? We believe in the gridiron, we believe in the pigskin, and we believe in real men smashing people, not running around wearing loose pants, baggy shorts, kicking a ball through a net. But please, back to you.
Gosh, this must be what it's like to work with Alexi Lalas. Now, so this is the part of the tournament where things start getting interesting, because this is the part of the tournament that countries are going to get eliminated, or they will go through to the knockout stages of the World Cup. As of today, each team's going to play their third match, and this is where the pressure is truly on. For Scotland, we play Brazil. I think if we get a tie, that'll be enough to take us through to the next round. If we lose, we could be relying on other results. The US, easy street. You guys are already through to the next round of the World Cup. Playing against Turkey, you can rest some of your stars. Don't need to worry. If you win, that'll be nice. It means you'll top the group, get an easier game in the next round. But I think the US can be very happy with the way things are going so far. Looking really good to go deep into the tournament, the way things stand. This is where it's going to get a little bit exciting. And some of those wonderful fans from around the world will have to start packing their bags to go home. Others will be clearing out their savings account, getting extra loans in just so they can stay a little bit longer.
Yeah. And do you have to go? Is that what I hear the...
I have. I've got minutes. I'm not on until 20 past in Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland? Oh, WTAM
with Bill Wills.
Yeah. Bill Wills has been doing that longer than we've all been alive, but he's a legend, truly. Bill Wills started in Cincinnati, and I believe they moved him to Cleveland years and years ago. The big one used to be 3WE. They called it back when I was a kid.
Very good.
Yeah, that really did a lot. We'll let you go because we oh my gosh, we don't want Bill Wills to be mad at Jonathan Savage. Well, I was on with that little punk in Boise. Yeah, that's why we sent him to Boise. What he's reformulated? Yeah, exactly. We've got the potato army.
I do appreciate the education that you give me about the U.S. radio industry and its history. I mean, I am a geek. And you're leaning into that, so I appreciate that.
Well, I don't know if the listeners here do, but I've been everywhere, and I've been fired by everyone. I've been through bankruptcy. I've been through women. I've been through faith. That's Ric Flair. Anyway, I pretty much know everybody, and they know me.
Okay, well, I'll say hi to Bill Wills for you.
He'll go, I don't know that punk, and he's probably right about that. I'm just a fan. When you get to that level. When you're Jonathan Savage and you're Bill Wills, Kevin Miller, and the Potato Cartel. Oh, we just move along on to the next dance. You hear that, folks? He says we're not important enough, so he has to go and kick a ball with Bill Wills. Well, jolly ho, old friend.
Jolly ho to you too.
Jonathan Savage, the living legend. Thank you, sir.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There we have it. Did that make sense? No, it didn't. But did it wake us up? Let's hope so. By the way, Boise Music Festival, we are rolling. We are pumped. We are excited. And we need you to call in at 580-KIDO. And in honor of again, I apologize, and I really appreciate those people that have found my cell phone, that have personally called me and said, Kevin, what's wrong with the signal? They're trying to get you again. I know. And it's very frustrating. But we apologize for that. We apologize for it. You have to crank up your radio so you can hear us. I know all the other stations are louder, so I'm sorry about that. But we need you. That's why we need you to call in and go 580-KIDO to win tickets to the Boise Music Festival. That would be outstanding. That would be wonderful. 580-KIDO. A preview of things to come. And you don't have to be, that old singer Fabian to understand that. You don't have to be. Was he the guy that did The Wanderer? Fabian? I'll have to ask Ron Grant when we talk to him. What happened overnight? The Senate decided to pass the War Powers Resolution against the president. And if you want to sound off, here's the question. Are you with the president? And I know my man Jim from Star, who's probably asleep right now. God bless you, Jim. Sleep in, Jim. Or as we like to say, sleep, dear Jimmy, sleep. Sleep, dear Jimmy, sleep. Because Jim from Star would say, we elected him not to be in wars. We elected him not to do this. We elected him not to do that. And now he's in these wars. Now he's crazy, man. Now he's doing all these crazy things. And now we've got this new book out where they detail just that he's this, that, and the other. I love reading the muck. I love reading those books, whether they're right or not. Actually, I like buying those books and not reading them and driving Mrs. Miller crazy. But with me, it's always a short trip, as you know, if you've listened to this program at all. But you take a look at the insight, and Donald Trump is a crazy man. Donald Trump is the grand disruptor. And what we see now is the knives are coming out for the president. The president is one of those people, like a great sports team, that gives no quarter, asks no quarter, and is incredibly successful. I wish sometimes that I would have nurtured my academic part of my life. Kevin, you can't even pronounce words. What academic part of your life? You're right. But if I had one. Who's that? Robert Gyro, that has written the Lyndon Johnson books. The guy is so famous for the incredible encyclopedia-like knowledge of the Johnson books that I don't even know if anybody reads, that they did a documentary on him. And the book on Trump, and I marveled at this thing because I'm watching this, not a good movie. It's not a flattering movie. It's probably full of all sorts of bad things. I think it's free now on Prime, The Apprentice. And allegedly it shows that Donald Trump was, really taken in by Roy Cohn, this attorney, and all sorts of things. And then they throw in the homophobia and all this, not from Donald Trump, but from Roy Cohn and all these allegations. I don't really know if it's true or not, but I am so fascinated by the president. And because we're living in the time, we'll never really get it. 100 years from now, 200 years from now, there could be a thing called Trumpism. And the reason why I say could be Trumpism is because the president of the United States is more than a political figure. The greatest president in my lifetime is the Gipper. I was a little boy, and I grew up to be a man during the age of Reagan, from 12 to 20. I do believe that presidents and their behavior influence the national psyche. They are our daddies. They are. And to see where the country was during Jimmy Carter and to see what it became under the Gipper, I will always be inspired for it. I can remember, I believe it's the Canyon County Republican Women a year ago. I went there and I had a chance to sit down, lovely people. And they've asked me, I think I'm still invited to this, to be their MC when they hold their annual Reagan dinner. And I can't wait. Hopefully they'll give me 5 minutes just to talk about the impact of Ronald Reagan. And I'm so sorry that none of you that are under 40 or really under 50 got to be the Gipper, got to see the Gipper. Just the brilliance of the man. Did he make mistakes? Yes. This is not a knock against President Trump. But as glorious and as grand as the Reagan era was, and how he loved his wife, man. Every person, man and woman, should love their spouse that way. I was talking about this with Tom Luna the other day, actually a month ago, and I said to him during that last speech when he made everybody feel a part of the Reagan Revolution, and we were doing something during Reagan's time. I know Patriot Ray feels that. I know Tea Party Bob, in his love for Donald Trump, feels that. He just made us feel something. President Trump is more than a president. The guy sued the NFL and won, and the jury was rigged. They only gave him a buck in penalties. The guy's a cultural figure. He was the belle of the ball of the Democrats before he became a Republican. He actually was on his way to winning the presidency as a Reform Party candidate before Pat Buchanan beat him in 2000. That's the beauty of President Trump. And then to beat the Republican Party establishment to become president. And then what happened in 2020? COVID, Fauci, the lawfare, and to come back and to continue on and to rebuild his wealth. We've never seen anything like it. With everybody against him. That's the significance of Donald Trump. That's the most amazing thing. Anyway, your thoughts on the Senate now voting in favor of the War Powers Act, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are rolling on your side, 580-KIDO.
Lander said had not been forceful enough in speaking out against Israel's actions in Gaza. Both candidates are Jewish, but Goldman said he felt anti-Semitism from some while running this race.
On your opponent, do you think he exacerbated any of those attacks?
I think he used the issue as a wedge issue because, and you'll have to ask him why he did that.
Boy, that's crazy when you think about how the country has turned, where we have the radicals in New York led by Mandami, winning. More on that coming up. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll review the national elections, talk about what's going on locally, but all the liberal loons are saying this.
Democrats are painfully divided by our differences over the U.S. relationship to Israel and Palestine, and we have to face up to it squarely. Yeah. Our party needs to admit that Joe Biden's hug Bibi strategy was a catastrophic failure.
I don't think they hugged Bibi. I don't think Joe Biden was really that good to Bibi. Bibi. Bibi's going, what the heck is going on? And then you have this Mondami character you have the Democrats basically trying to turn the country into New York City. And on the other hand, you have Tucker Carlson, who now is a streamer, not on any broadcast entity, basically saying he's not a Republican. And Al Sharpton agreeing with him. Has the world gone Looney Tunes, everybody?
Now saying he's done with Republicans.
I really, as I took note, Tucker Carlson's very influential in far-right circles. There are even those that have suggested that he may be thinking of running for president himself. Mm-hmm. And if he does, that would, in my opinion, be very beneficial to the Democrat, whoever that may be, to have a Republican nominee. And Tucker, who you could not underestimate, we get a lot of the far-right guys and ladies that agree with that. I know Tucker. He's a very strange guy. 20 years ago, I went and had led a delegation to Africa, and he covered it for Esquire. So I spent some time with him and time after. And he really believes a lot of what he's saying. I think a lot of what he's saying is bizarre, but I do not think he's a hypocrite or a liar. He believes that stuff, which means he can sell it.
But do you think he'd be saying this if he thought the Republicans were going to remain popular?
No, I do not think he would say it if he felt they would remain popular. If he felt that they were in a position to do some of the things he believed, he wouldn't be saying it. Or if he had faith that this president and his successor was going to do things and win, I think he would save his bet. I think that he sees them going over the cliff, and he's not going over with them.
That's what I was observing. And Molly, I'm curious. We've all heard of Polymarket. They run the future.
And here we are, Kevin Mill in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Peak Health Idaho. Tomorrow we're going in for our follow-up checkup with Dr. Eric Lyle. Why don't you do the same if you're thinking about, well, I want to know what's on the inside, whether it's blood work, whether it's a DEXA body scan, whether it's making a commitment to yourself. Check them out today, peakhealthidaho.com. And I was just going over my test results. I can't really read anything, but it's a commitment, and it's they make it very easy. Although, if you're a little squirrely, squishy guy like me, you need people that are there for you. Can't recommend them highly enough. Peak Health Idaho, to take care of yourself. More on them coming up. The sponsor of this portion of the program. Outgoing Senator Tom Tillis went off on Senator Mike Lee on Tuesday after Lee's ongoing push to force a talking filibuster in order to get President Trump's voter ID bill, the SAVE Act, through the Senate. Tillis apparently not fond of Lee for promoting goofy stuff in comments to reporters, adding that Lee is either driven by naivety or desire to get more likes on social media, or both. Here you go. I never speak ill of members when they want to be professional and they want to engage in a productive way. But when you use some of the BS, and he didn't use the word BS, folks, you're keeping score at home, that he's done on social media, that's why he gets those comments out there. Tillis added on Semaphor's Congressional Bureau Chief Burgess Everett's show, Lee has long grabbed headlines for his outlandish and trollish social media behavior on the account named Based Mike Lee. I guess it's based. It doesn't say biased. Anyway, the president wanting one more push to save America. Will he get it? Coming up, we'll talk to Al in Ontario and everybody else. Remember, we'll get you to work safely and on time the right way at 5. More people will be moving to Idaho, friends.
Business in a big way, one of the biggest in the world again. And we're here to have a good time with a very big crowd of people.
Mr. President, the Department of War is asking for $80 billion more for the Iran war. Do you think Americans support this at a time when so many are financially struggling?
Who are you with?
I'm with Q Nation, sir.
Not a very good group. Not doing very well.
Yeah, bub.
Not only do they support it, they demand it because they won't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. You want to see trouble? Let them have a nuclear weapon. We're doing very well with Iran. They've been decimated, and we're making a deal with them, and we'll see how that all goes. And right now, as you probably heard yesterday, we had 19 barrels of oil, 19 million barrels of oil come off, and that's the biggest in the history of the Strait, the Hormuz Strait. Our stock market is through the roof, and oil prices are tumbling. We actually hit for a moment today. In fact, I think it's going to break it, $70 a barrel. That's lower than we were when we started. And it's been amazing. And the big thing is Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
There we have it. 580 KIDO, Kevin Miller in the morning. That is amazing. By the way, I forgot to mention our friend Greg Pruitt will join us in the 9 o'clock hour. He'll break down local politics. He'll break down what happened in Meridian, what's going on within the Republican Party. They have a major announcement. They want to get rid of the property tax, which is great, but will they give it the same effort they did with the grocery tax? And really, what are they doing to help folks keep Idaho pro-life? A lot going on there. Thankfully, Greg Pruitt will tell us what's going on so we stay away from the muck that is local politics. We go to Al in Ontario. He knows all about muck. It's always a muck fest with Muckety Muck Al. What up, G?
Good morning. First of all, I would like to ask President Trump to give the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously to Colonel Billy Mitchell. And Colonel Billy Mitchell is the greatest airman in the history of the United States, in my opinion. And really, honestly, Billy Mitchell has so much in common with President Trump because Billy Mitchell went up against the bureaucracy, the loser bureaucracy. And what he did is he accused the military of incompetence, criminal negligence, and almost treasonable administration of the national defense. And so, what did they do? They court-martialed him, kicked him out of the military. And you see, guess what? He was right. In 1924, what did he do? He said that Japan would attack Pearl Harbor. He understood things. He was a very smart, very competent man, and he was good at what he did. You see, and so that's the thing. President Trump is kind of the same way. He's very competent, understands so much and is going against the grain. He's going against the entire system that has been built up, this bureaucratic, Byzantine loser system. You could just call America Constantinople, but President Trump is fighting that. He's fighting that, just like Billy Mitchell did. So I call on President Trump to award posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Colonel Billy Mitchell, the greatest airman and also the father of the Air Force that's ever been. The father of the Air Force, yeah. And what did he do? He said that the military was incompetent, criminally negligent, and almost treasonable. So getting on to what you were talking about Reagan. You're saying, well, Reagan had this great effect on us. But really, was it Reagan or was it his reading of history? Was it his understanding of history, just like Thomas Jefferson? No, he understood history. He understood the human condition. And really, honestly, who was one of President Reagan's favorite economist, if not his favorite economist, who he always used in his speeches? It was Frederick Bastiat. And what did Bastiat say? He said, when plunder becomes a way of life, men create for themselves a legal system that authorizes it and a moral code that glorifies it, right? And I think that's exactly where we're at. You see, we don't have the education these days to really understand anything because nobody in school learns about Frederick Bastiat. They don't learn about Alexander Fraser Tyler, who said a democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the voters discover they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury. This is what our founding fathers understood. They understood you can't have a democracy. You have to have a constitutional republic. Tyler said from the moment on that they understand that they can vote themselves money from the treasury, the majority always vote for candidates promising the most benefits from the public treasury, with the result the democracy always collapses.
Congratulations. Reading with Al this morning, everybody. So what's the point? I said that Reagan is the greatest, and we go on and on on about people we don't know anything about, and now we're stupid, and now you're going to take a shot at women, or I'm feminine, or again, you with the boys in the shower. Please go ahead.
Yes, no. So it's always a fiscal policy, right? It's loose fiscal policy. And that's exactly what we see today. Okay, it's what do words mean? You see, you don't understand. You're all being manipulated, okay, by the tyranny of words. Okay, this is what Stuart Chase talked about in his book, The Tyranny of Words, and you don't know anything about it, and that's the problem. Okay, you're manipulated by vague, abstract language. And
I was there for Ronald Reagan. I saw what Reagan did for all of us, sir.
Look,
Reagan saved our country. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you were scrubbing toilets in the Air Force. I don't know. But
look,
I got to tell you, the Gipper was the greatest ever.
Okay, well, actually, I did scrub toilets in the Air Force when I first went in. You know, they don't anymore, but you should. Okay, you should work. Okay, that's the problem. We don't have people working anymore. And the Gipper had a 30% debt to GDP ratio to work with. But the reality is he did good things because he read history, because he understood.
I think we got that out. What's the point?
Okay, the point is this. You have to understand that when you use okay, so right now, what do we see? The judge just blocked the SNAP restrictions on sugary drinks and candy. Okay, President Trump is trying to hold our country's feet to the fire to stop all of this stupidity and all of this socialism and all of this destruction of our nation by, handing people all of this crap food. Okay, and a judge comes in here and says what? Oh, well, you can't do that.
That's been going on. Al, thank you for the call. That's been going on forever. As I like to say, and I actually know these people, and it doesn't make a big deal. I'm going to be the guy at the music festival, probably in KIDO Orange, giving away tickets to the Boise Music Festival. But Mark Levin's a friend of mine. I can call Mark Levin up and go, "Hey, Mark." And he'd go, "Hey, Kevin, is that you? Where have you been?" "I've been in Idaho, Mark." Mark Levin wrote about this years and years ago. And what a lot of people don't know is Mark Levin was F. Lee Levin with Rush Limbaugh. And Mark Levin wrote about this. It was, the Men in Black, the tyranny of the bench. It's always been this way. Look, the Idaho bathroom law has been this way. When if the libs don't like something, they go to court. And they stack the judges. Now, what President Trump did is he stacked the judges with his own people, and the libs didn't like that because they were losing power. The fact that we have the Supreme Court and that these people hate it. They hate that we have the Supreme Court. We go back to gay marriage, DACA, Obamacare. Those were all 5-4 decisions. You didn't see the Republicans saying we need to blow up the Supreme Court, did we? No, not at all. But they did. They did it all the time. Oh, I'm glad we have an early Ron Grant today because I have a question for him. Let's go to Ron Grant.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
There he is, the G-Man, Ronnie G, in the house. Hello.
Top of the morning to you, young man. How you doing?
Hey, I've got this. Was Fabian the guy that wrote The Wanderer, that sang The Wanderer, your song, Ronnie G?
Fabian. No, not that I know of.
Who was it? Who sang The Wanderer? Who was that?
The Wanderer was, oh, man.
Yeah. You're out of touch.
The Wanderer. Dementia setting in. No, it wasn't the one. It wasn't Fabian.
Who was Fabian? Was he like some big guy?
Yeah, Fabian was a good song. Yeah, he did a couple. I think it was in one of the Beach movies or two of the Beach movies, if I'm not mistaken. Dion was the Wanderer. Dion DeMucci.
Yes, the Wanderer. Yes, I'm the type of guy. You couldn't sing that today because we're all sensitive and the Me Too and all that. But
oh my God, politically incorrect. You would be hounded if you put that on the radio. It'd be hounded.
Well, we might just do that after the Ron Grant segment. But as much as we'd like to talk about the Wanderer and everything else, let's wander into how to keep your money safe, Ron. Got a lot of people very, very worried. What goes up has to come down. We don't like to say that, but we got to be prepared for it, right, Ron?
Oh, of course. You have to be real. Realistic. Back in 08 and 09, when the market tanked almost 50%, trillions of dollars were lost to 50 to 70-year-olds. But my clients and I were sleeping at night knowing that we couldn't lose our principal, we couldn't lose our gains. The stuff that I help my clients with and I've helped myself with, the products that I do, are depression-proof. Babe Ruth had that back in when the 29 crash. My clients and I sleep at night knowing that we can't lose the principal and we can't lose the gains. And most importantly, Kevin, we have a lifetime income, our lifetime, that we can't outlive. And if we have a spouse, when we pass away, our spouse will get that money for the rest of their life. And then when they've passed away, whatever left goes to the beneficiaries. You can't say that in traditional retirement plans like the 401ks and the 403bs, et cetera, because they're in risk and fees in the Wall Street casino.
Ron, how do people get a hold of you to get out of the risk, the fees, the roulette table, the dancing girls at the Wall Street casino?
Yeah. Well, I put together a great educational website, Kevin, safermoneyspecialist.com. There's articles to read, videos to take a look at. But, more important, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how you can have a guaranteed income that you can't outlive, zero stock market risk, and then most importantly, legacy protection for you and your family. And my number is 208-660-1372.
How many times did you ever dress up as Fonzie back in the day?
Never dressed up as Fonzie. Hey.
Well, exactly. There's another guy in the Me Too movement that would never roll.
No, gosh, no. We had so much stuff then, and I just look at, All in the Family, Archie Bunker. My God, that would never fly today.
No. Ron Grant, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate you, buddy. Have a good day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
So, if you're really wondering about this is, I guess this is by Dion. Do we have this, Sweet William? Now, think about this. If you ever wanted to, and I think people do this online these days, but if you ever wanted to crash a feminist convention or any type of politically correct convention or an algae convention, you'd come in with this music.
Where pretty girls are, well, you know that I'm around. I kiss them and I love them, 'cause to me they're all the same. I hug them and I squeeze them, they don't even know my name. They call me the Wanderer, yeah, the Wanderer. I roam around.
So again, you wouldn't hear that today. And then that reference to this show called Happy Days, where there was a guy in a white T-shirt wearing a leather jacket named Henry Winkler.
He's my lingo.
By the way, Henry Winkler comes to Idaho at least once a year. Now, he's known for Happy Gilmore. He's known for the water cooler, the water boy, whatever. But for those that grew up in the 70s and 80s, he was the coolest guy around. And he had an office. His office was the men's room, which has a lot of connotations outside the Village People. Sean Hannity today at 1, 580 KIDO. By the way, this new book out, Hagerman and Swan. I just was watching this on CNN as we were listening, and I was listening to the great capitalistic commercials supporting conservatism here in Idaho. So I'm sitting here watching this, and again, I think a lot of us, whether we know what the National Enquirer was or Star Magazine, whatever it was, not Star Idaho, but Star Magazine, I will tell you that people like to read the gossip. People love to read the gossip. And the gossip in this new book, it's weird because I was listening to a a YouTube video from the War College. And they were talking about the Civil War, and one of the reasons why Gettysburg failed for the Confederacy was, I guess, one of the generals was dating one of the women, and then she dumped him for another general, and the two generals didn't like each other, and the one general made the other general that got the girl look bad in front of General Lee, so he fixed his goose. And it comes down to personalities, and you can tell when people don't like one another. You can tell when people do not like President Trump. So I'm reading this, or not, I'm watching this, and it's almost like I'm reading the book, which is sold out on Amazon already, this regime change. And I'm going, man, I got to go get it. So it can sit next to Selling the Invisible, or The Accidental Salesperson, or Original Sin, all the books that I haven't read yet. And I'm sitting here going, well, what type of question is the CNN guy going to ask? And they go, did you know that Donald Trump likes wall-to-wall carpet? And the guy goes, yeah, I heard about it in the bathroom. That's gross. Look, if Donald Trump wants carpet in his bathrooms, Donald Trump can get carpet in the bathrooms. And apparently that was in the first term. And then they did in the second term, and the guy goes, oh, that's gross, and mold and everything else. And I'm going, hey, man, if the guy wants shag carpeting in the bathroom, he can have shag carpeting in the bathroom. You know, you get out of the shower or the tub, that's cold floor. Well, what about a rug? You don't need a rug. And I'm going, we're actually talking about this? This is what this guy is talking about? And people write about this in the book, and people are buying it? Well, people are dressing up like algae. If we lived closer, and I don't even know, the closest I lived to D.C. was Raleigh, which was 5 hours away, I think. Something like that. I would actually, a younger Kevin Miller, perhaps a Kevin Miller probably trying to do something, but legitimately, I would love to go interview the algae people and go, why do you, and maybe the algae people would try and throw me in the pond, or the algae would attack me. But protests have become performative, where people are just dressed up as the algae, and that's going viral, and that's some sign of success. No, it's not. But they're so consumed by their hatred. And if Trump were a wrestling villain, if the president were a wrestling villain, he would be getting so many boos that he couldn't speak because of the boos right now. But these people, it truly is Trump derangement syndrome when we're looking at these people and their visceral reaction to him. Is it not? Something to ponder. Okay, we can go back to Obama. Did we hate Obama? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a little secret. I pray for Obama every night. I do. And I can sit there and talk about being aggrieved, and the WorldNet Daily article by Dr. Jerome Corsi, What Happened to Me. But hey, man, nobody forced me to do that. I did it. And it cost me. Got me here, but it cost me. I don't think conservatives, and maybe there are, exceptions to this, sadly. I don't think conservatives view people that way. Look, we had a guy in the White House that couldn't talk. That was ruled so incompetent, he couldn't even stand trial by his own words because he didn't know what the heck was going on. And we're the bad people? Boy, that's a lot of cortisol going through your veins, folks. Traffic now at 580 KIDO with Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio, sun is up and shining on the windshield. If you're traveling eastbound on the freeway, you're going to be slowing down right in the Meridian Road area, as we do have heavy, steady traffic on the freeway. Fence and Lumber is your Cedar Factory outlet, saving you up to 70% off the big box stores. Fence and Lumber now open in Cuna, online at fenceandlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Thank you very much, Dave Burnett. Don't forget, tickets to the Boise Music Festival. We want you to go. Sean Paul, Marshmello, Everclear. I don't know why I did that. I'm just happy to be with you. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Win primaries in New York City. Amazing. If you're a Democratic establishment person, you're in trouble. Pretty wild, this Mondami character and what's going on across the country. You have to wonder at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, what the future of America is. You know, we had a good time yesterday until liberal Steve ruined it by trying to get overly personal. But and this is a story again on our website that I find very fascinating when we're thinking about the Boise mayor and her really delving into social media policy. Now she's telling us about the Grove Street pathway that's ADA accomplished. But here's my favorite thing. And, you know, in New York City, they can talk about the Democratic Socialist. And in Boise, we have a mayor that's riding her bike. I love the comment. Stop acting like you own Boise. Your time in mayor is almost completed. Along with your Rainbow Pride brain bucket, I do what it says, nutcase, and that's definitely who you are, a nutcase. Now, that's not very nice to call the mayor that, but let's hear what she has to say. Do we have this?
Dining, I encourage everybody to come on down and check out this wonderful location. And also, for those of us that bike, this is a dismount zone during construction, so please walk your bike in between one block and the other, and then you can jump right back on and move along to where you're headed next. Thanks, everybody.
So, by the way, it's kind of strange to be us. By the way, and we apologize. Again, we've got the big Boise Music Festival coming up this weekend. Very excited to host the international stars. And not that anybody cares. We have a lot of pride at the Broadcast Center. We're allowed to do this by the Godless Corporation. Thank you, Godless Corporation, for giving us this. Thank you, Godless Corporation, for giving us the app, the first in Idaho to have an app. One of the first actually the first in the company to beta test it, our show. They see something in us. Thank you. We apologize for the 580 signal. We've put a ton of resources into it. We're going to get that fixed for you, but I want to acknowledge that. So we're very sorry. We're going to do our very best. We have 107.5 FM. I know in Fruitland Payette that doesn't help us, but if you crank it up all the way and don't turn the station, you'll be okay. I apologize. I missed Patriot Ray last hour, and let's see what he had to say. We were talking about Ronald Reagan. Let's see, Kevin, I think you tried to go to me, but wow, it was a lot of static machine gun was going off. I remember when President Reagan was shot and thankfully not killed. I love that President Reagan was a great example of respect and love for his wife, Nancy. I voted for closing the borders, for sending illegals back to their own countries, and for getting rid of the insanity of catering to the illegals and punishment of the legal American citizen. I hope and pray that those in Congress who support all the insanity of their Trump derangement syndrome will be held accountable, and some actually get prison time for their treasonous actions. God bless Patriot Ray. Thank you so much, Patriot Ray. So we have Democratic socialism running wild in New York City. And closer to the other coast is our mayor telling us about bike lanes and construction zones. By the way, who's responsible for the construction zones, Madam Mayor?
I'm on 8th Street, and yes, during this construction, businesses are open for business, restaurants are open for dining. I encourage everybody to come on down and check out this wonderful location. And also, for those of us that bike, this is a dismount zone during construction, so please walk your bike in between one block and the other, and then you can jump right back on.
Very weird.
I'm out here with a group of volunteers as part of Paint the Town Boise, painting a beautiful blue on a house on Mesquite Lane. It's awesome to be surrounded by volunteers who have been coming back every year for 15.
Dude, you know what's, and I don't want to say that Idaho is really run by women. And this would be an interesting contrast. There's only one person that could write this article, but I won't do it. Now, you talk about who really represents Idaho women. Do you know where I'm going with this? Is it Mayor McClain or is it Dorothy Moon? The chairwoman of the Idaho Republican Party? I don't know if you would ever catch her painting anything blue. No, this isn't my usual personal knock against her. She and I don't get along. That's great. I'm fine with that. But I will never lie to you. I will always be transparent. But for the sake of content, think about that for a minute. Just listening to the mayor, and then you'd have Dorothy Moon next to her.
More years to serve our community. I want to thank NeighborWorks Boise for all the work that goes into this. And it's super exciting to be here at a house that has had siding redone through the city's home renovation program, and now they qualified to be painted through Paint the Town.
Boy, I wish I had the home siding restoration program. Does that not sound like socialism to you? Yes, we want people that can't afford things to get them, but you're paying for it. Your taxes are going up. Is this not democratic socialism light?
As we celebrate World Refugee Day this year, I wanted to tell you about Global Gardens right here in Boise. Global Gardens is an organization that supports refugee farmers.
Oh my gosh, dude. On one hand, it's like listening to Al in Ontario. You can't stop listening to the voice, although it says absolutely nothing, except the propaganda that indoctrinates you. Now, will the city of Boise liberate itself from the happy promoter of propaganda, the Boise mayor? I don't know. But I do know that, here we are, the refugee farmers, what about the Idaho farmers? What about the people in Kuna? Do you ever go to Kuna and hang out with the people? Do you ever go to the Boise Farmers Market in downtown Boise with your little bike hat on? Ring, ring, ring goes the bell.
Hello, Boise. I am so excited. The river is open. So before you head out on the river today, check out Float to Boise for all detailed information and updates. Be sure you're safe. Bring life jackets, check in with your friends, and then use the pullouts we've got and have fun.
By the way, she's not wearing a life jacket if she's in the Boise River. The mayor of Boise is in the Boise River and not wearing a life jacket. Now, what do we have here? What have we learned? We've learned that there's discount zones because businesses are trying to stay afloat because the traffic is just untenable in downtown Boise. We've learned the mayor prefers shopping with the refugees. She loves the socialist program that allows people to get things at your expense. And she's in the Boise River wearing a dress. Out of all those comments, I really appreciate the dress. I think the dress is great. I think the dress is outstanding. Now, maybe you live in Meridian. Maybe you live in Caldwell. Maybe you live, I don't know, in Kuna, Idaho. I'm trying to think, who's the most masculine mayor we have? And now with Debbie Kling gone, what do we have? We only have one female mayor in the Treasure Valley. Is that right? So, and maybe this loses something on the radio. I hope not. But to me, what is appropriate is a mayor that comes in and does the job. And you're right, Sweet William. She couldn't wear a pantsuit in the Boise River. I get it. But this whole cult of personality thing, when taxes are going up, it's irresponsible. What I'd like to see, and again, because we want to keep the politicians that actually have a brain and listen to this program, let's take a look at being more fiscally accountable. I've been saying this for 31 years. It breaks my heart because we have really good people. We have Edwin. We have Nicole. We have Patriot Ray. We have others that live this Idaho dream. And sometimes they have to work longer and harder to remain afloat. And we're all just that way. Even our marvelous big money people, developers and stuff, are just a big Greg Ferrara away from being in the poorhouse. I don't wish that on anybody, but it's the type of economy we live in. And, you know, I would have more respect for the mayor if she just talked about job training or whatever. And like I said, nobody covered this. Nobody ever had the Facebook opening. We did. Kevin Miller had that before anybody. Before the people of CUNA knew that, we knew that. So if we wanted to go into the news business, we would be very dominant because it doesn't exist here. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we have the mayor of Boise in the river.
Hello, Boise. I am so excited. The river is open. So before you head out on the river today, check out Float the Boise for all detailed information and updates. Be sure you're safe. Bring life jackets, check in with your friends, and then use the pullouts we've got and have fun. So excited this summer has truly begun. You might want a wetsuit. It's a little cold.
Wow. Now we have a comment about June 19th.
Hey there, Boise. I am
Oh,
here.
yes, there she is, where she's Spud Daddy.
Bound Crossing just unveiled a new bird safe mural on windows.
Now, for those of you listening in Galveston, Texas, Denver, Los Angeles, Seattle, and you're tired of the cesspool that is your home, I mean, we have people that listen in New York. They get the podcast. Maybe they listen live. Maybe they're like our man Rocky. Hopefully, Rocky, you can get the stick or you have the app. But this is real life news. Now, in New York, it's Mondami and the Democratic Socialism. In Chicago, they're killing people and all heck is breaking loose. In Boise, we have this.
Bound Crossing just unveiled a new bird safe mural on windows to protect birds, to prevent them from flying into the windows at the library. This bird safe mural was designed by a Boise State student, and it's really beautiful. And it joins the library at USTIC and the new education center at the zoo and having bird safe windows to prevent bird strikes, because we've heard from so many residents that this matters. Library at Bound Crossing just unveiled.
Welcome to Boise. We protect the birds.
I'm here with Lieutenant Nielsen. We just welcomed.
You know what it is? I heard that Channel 7 is looking for new reporters. I mean, the mayor could be on it. I mean, she could be a reporter instead of the primary source. Your feedback, please. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Taxpayers in Boise, is this a return on your investment? This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Window World Boise. That's right. They love windows. And they are local, and they're on Chinden Boulevard. Man, I spent my day yesterday on Chinden Boulevard. Tell you about that in a second. Man, Chinden up, Chinden down. And you can see Window World Boise on the Chinden. Go in and say hello. And you're going to go, Kevin, what about my windows? They actually stand on their windows. And it's not like a hip and a dap and a dip and a doop, like when the Sugar Hill Gang was here for Boise Music Festival. No, it's a great act, by the way. I knew they'd steal the show. Everybody laughed at me. They did. Who's going to steal the show this year? Window World Boise. But they give you a great deal. Great warranty, great installation. If there's an issue, there's, as we like to call them, a Greg Ferrara, they take care of it. And if you have somebody, not Kevin Miller, who runs into the screen door, they'll come by and fix that too. What do the young people say? Easy peasy. That's Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. Please tell them it helps me out. It helps me keep my job, as they like to say online. Hey, like and subscribe to help me keep my job. Give them a call, please, if you're looking for windows. And if you're not, please give them a call for a good time. windowworldboise.com. Please say, Kevin Miller sent me. Why? I don't know, but I need windows because Kevin Miller says I need windows. Maybe you don't want to go on vacation. You want new windows. windowworldboise.com. One more note I wanted to share with you. A couple things. Did get my stress test back from High Desert. I keep wanting to say High Desert Harley Davidson because we're going to be there on Sunday, but we haven't heard from them, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. We're going to be there for the bike thing, Idaho Patriot Thunder. But High Desert Heart and Vascular, and do want to thank Justin and Craig, Dr. Noonan, the crew. Got my stress test back. We're good to go to proceed with our project with Peak Health Idaho as we continue to lose weight. Hopefully this weekend I'm at down 126. I want to be down 130, hopefully. We'll see what happens. But you have to tell yourself it's not a race, it's a destination. And as I said before, we all want to be in control, don't we? We all want to be in control. And as I found, and I'm not a boomer, but all my millennial and Gen Z people say that I am a boomer. Tea Party Bob calls me an honorary boomer. I'm with Brian and Dylan, the X. And Dylan going, yeah, you're more boomer than X. Thanks, Dylan. You're only 3 years younger than me, or 4 years, you little pip. But this is what I love about the younger generation. They put their health first. And by putting their health first, they understand stress, they understand mental strain. You know, most of us were brought up in the days of the eggs over easy, lots of bacon grease, country fried steak, pack of Marlboros, pack of cigs, a Diet Coke, and you go. That's not healthy. And what I'm saying is being out in the sun. And I was at a Walmart, the 4 Walmarts we were there for Swire Coca-Cola over the weekend. And I was very, I just love to be like a sponge. And so I'm hanging out in the cosmetics section because I was going to go shave in the bathroom. I know. Why was I going to go shave in the bathroom? I don't know why I was going to go shave in the bathroom, but I was going to go like shave in the bathroom. And I couldn't find the razors. And then I saw a group of men, and because we don't say just men, they were Hispanic men that work outside. And they have something that Kevin Miller will never have, a tan. And they were a group of workers. Maybe they all lived together, maybe they didn't. But maybe they spoke English, maybe they didn't. I'm not judging. But they were very respectful, very nice, and they were studying the sunscreen. And I go, man, I thought I just had to worry about sunscreen. I'm thinking, and again, I'm not saying this, whatever. I'm going, you people have great skin. You people tan. I don't. I have tan envy. I've had it my whole life. When people say, oh, I burn and then I tan. I burn and then I turn pink, and it's a feminine pink. Regardless, at 580 KIDO. So my point being that it's summertime, which means it's skin cancer time. And it's been a few years. I'm very high risk for skin cancer. In Idaho, if you don't know this, we have a high skin cancer rate. So I went to go see my dermatologist, Dr. Bender, in Garden City. So that's where I was in Chinden. And it's just important to get yourself checked out. It's important that they go through your hair, that they have the little things, and then they have the light things so they can see these spots to make sure you're good to go. And thankfully, my spots were hemangiomas. It's a genetic thing with me, which are small little bruises or whatever. You might see my face and you see that little mark. That's a hemangioma. It's a small bruise or blood pooling or whatever. But just a thought, we're talking about heart health. We're talking about longevity, thanks to our friends at Peak Health Idaho. Skin cancer. Please. You ever heard of Bill Cowher? Bill Cowher, yes, he's the guy on CBS. But Bill Cowher was a coach at NC State, Pittsburgh Steelers coach. Went to North Carolina State University, married his college sweetheart, had beautiful daughters, and within 6 months lost his first wife to skin cancer. It just happened. And again, a public service announcement. Please take a look at yourself, and whether you got great skin or Kevin Miller, what do they call it, pasty skin? When is the Brad Pitt look going to be out in pasty and looking like a bell pepper in? Maybe sometime in my lifetime. But regardless, please take a look at that. And heart health and cancer health, I say this because when I talk to people in Nampa, they always think of the potential of, God rest his soul, Mayor Hogaboom would have had. And the heart just took him. Took Larry, took Teresa. Don't let those things that are preventable take them from us, take you from us. So again, public service announcement, more like Kevin Miller cares. Get yourself tested. I know it's a pain. I know you don't like losing control. It's like flying, unless you're Rob Studebaker, nobody likes to fly, especially when you're not the pilot. But do yourself a favor, please, please. For Kevin. Kevin can't do much for you, but you can do something for yourself. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. That's the slogan of this program. Half as good as I expected. We appreciate that. One thing you can expect this weekend, Boise Music Festival. Boom. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a banger. Banger, right? Allegedly. We look forward to being there. Everclear. Kevin Miller will be staying the latest ever. We'll get there around 10-ish. And we'll walk around. We'll be at the KIDO tent with my man Slim. What up, Slim? Slim and I will be there. Then we get to kick it off. No, it's not Julia Childs. No, it's so funny. It's like when we take the show on the road and everybody goes, oh, Kevin Miller, we love it when you're on the road. And what do? They congregate around the broadcast area and they all talk to each other. And I'm like, hey, man, we're trying to do a show. And it's just weird. So I got Sweet William talking to my ear. And I'm like, hey, man. Hey, Sweet William. Here's the bottom line. I'm trying to do a show. And he goes, yeah, half as good as expected. Half as good. Right. Thank you. Anyway, Julia Cole. And I was talking with our Boise Music Festival coordinator, Mr. Walling, another member of the staff. And this Julia Cole is one of these up-and-comer country acts. And the thing with her, and I don't know why I'm introducing her, but I am, allegedly. What is that? Card subject to change. So here's the lineup. You got Julia Cole. What up, Julia? She's going to open. Then it's MK2O. And they look like very fine gentlemen. And then that's at 1:30. She opens up about 12:40. Then you've got Botcash. Now, if you're a fan of the Korean music scene, this is the Botcash. And he has purple hair, so he looks legit. He's at 2:30. 3:30 is Eve 6. As well. And then Kevin Miller, 5 o'clock, Everclear. Then Sean Paul, who looks like he's going to be a happy guy. And Marshmello. Marshmello will be in Czechoslovakia. So it's Garden City, Las Vegas, Chicago, Czechoslovakia. Yes, folks, we do get the big time here. And you can go for free. How can you do that? Simply 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But you have to talk to Kevin Miller. And you have to say the phrase that pays, 580-KIDO.
Meaning a state, basically a Supreme Court throwing out state rules on voting.
Here's the thing. Even if that, let's say that happens.
So here's like this unrelated clip. And before the bots replace humans, and what was it, Jonathan Savage last hour? Oh, before they all replace us. Replace you maybe, not me, bro. I'll still be doing a show whether I'm working in aisle, whether I'm working the drive-through, whether I'm working wherever. I'll still be doing the show. What's that? We'll let that one go. So, Abby Phillip last night on a show no one watches, but it's the audition show, I call it. It's very rare when, and it used to happen more. Now we have the faux outrage. So Abby gets on and starts screaming and yelling, and I'm looking at this last night, and it's pretty late for me, like 8:30, and I go, she's really losing it. And she's yelling at this guy because the president calls out what's going on in California. And let's see if we can get to it. And it slowly builds, and then she goes complete meltdown.
That would be a change of the rules. Everyone gets to abide by the rules. Guess what? The rules are what they are today. But I do want to ask you again, do you think that Trump's repeated lies about elections have eroded confidence in elections
I
in this
think
country.
that Trump's suspicions about mail ballot
What about the lies?
What
about the lies, Brad?
of the voters?
No, seriously.
I
What?
think they
Hold on a
reflect
second.
suspicions of the voters.
I don't think you're going to answer that question. I'm asking you a question because Trump is not talking about things that he just doesn't like. He is straight up lying about things that happened in elections. In the 2020 election, he lied repeatedly about
You could hear her voice cracking, like she's about ready to cry. And this is where it gets, I don't want to say personal, but unprofessional.
everything that he claimed happened in that election. You don't think those lies had any impact?
I am talking about what this segment was here. We showed a bite of the president talking about the California election counting process, causing a lack of confidence. He's right.
So hold on a second. No. So Trump again. In
I don't think
California,
he should call the U.S. attorney, but I think he's right that
in this case, Brad, Trump is also lying about what's going on in California. Yep. And you don't think that that's a problem?
I didn't hear him cite any evidence of fraud in California. I don't see if
But he lied by saying that his call changed the result.
His call didn't change the result.
It didn't.
But you're losing the plot here.
No, you're losing the plot.
The substantive thing that affects this country
I'm just trying to defend something that isn't defensible. That's why you sound crazy.
Yeah. You know, when Ellison takes over, this one will be the first show that goes. But the point being, you could have fun with her. Well, the president has never lied, Abby. Well, the president's a great man. Do you not love the president? I love the president. I know it reminds you of that kid in class, and Brad Todd just doesn't get it. But that's fine. He's trying to actually have a factual conversation with these people. But they've really, the Trump derangement syndrome is just insane. We're not. We live in Idaho, and we're happy about that. Idaho 580 KIDO. Let's get you to work safely and on time. I'm sitting here watching the Fox News thing. Now people are protesting the coffee shop because the Jewish people now fear that they are going to be banned from getting a cup of coffee. We had such promise in truly the last great crusade. And what was that, Kevin Miller? The last great crusade was World War II, where America liberated the world from the tyranny of National Socialism. And one of my favorite, most inspirational monuments in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, is the World War II Memorial. And I've paraphrased the plaque to you many times. And they describe why they put the memorial, brought to you by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks, in between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. And when you go to D.C., it's so overwhelming because there are these iconic monuments. And, of course, Korea is so alluring and so powerful, it just sneaks up on you. But World War II, and they say, here lies the memorial to the ordinary individuals, you know, between the founder, Washington, and the great protector of the Union, Lincoln, where you have ordinary folks liberating the world from the tyranny. And today, if you've ever read European history, I used to teach it before I became a talk show host. Probably, and for some, when you get into history, there are people that specialize in American history. And obviously, what is the go-to for American history? The Civil War, maybe the Revolutionary War, number two, but the Civil War. For European history folks, it is Rome or it's World War II. And I don't want to say this was a bait and switch. I took a class called Nazi Germany. When I attended the Harvard of the Midwest, not really. My check cleared, and I had a GPA above a 2.0, so I got in. Not that I was anything special, I wasn't. But I took this class at the most masculine college known to man, the University of Akron, they call themselves the Zips. Imagine going through life going, hey, I'm a Bronco, I'm a Vandal, I'm a Zip. You ain't got zip, buddy. Anyway, explains a lot about my psyche. So I took this class, and I thought it was all going to be about Germany and Hitler. And it wasn't. It was really about the Junkers and the pre-war, the social strife that led up to World War II. And it was all about National Socialism. And you had the Bolsheviks, and you had the communists, and you had all these plots going along. And as I said before, Riley Ace of Spies covers this extensively. It's an old PBS series made in 81. And the characters, and even Dennis Mansfield covers this in his book with Trotsky and Stalin and Hitler. My point being is what we're seeing when I'm seeing this in New York City, where the Jewish people are being targeted, it reminds me of that period pre-Nazi Germany when National Socialism, democratic socialism, and the scourge that it was. And now you have these people, and they're coming for Hakeem. They're coming for Schumer. It's funny because, again, I have hit you with analogies. It reminds me of the Blade series where the young vampires eat the old vampires. And that's what's going on here. And really, where did it begin? It began with Bernie Sanders. Nobody thought that crazy, kooky, old Bernie would beat Hillary Clinton. He would have in 2016. He would have in 2020. Kevin Miller told the truth. Kevin Miller lives in Idaho. Kevin Miller doesn't live in D.C., but Kevin Miller and you told the truth. So what happened? Bernie and AOC created this younger generation. Mandami, Shmandami, Babami, all these people that want to stick it to the man. Now, again, there's a lot of hypocrisy with Bernie and AOC flying out to Idaho, and not in Boise, but in Nampa, on their private jet. Hypocrisy, hypocrisy, hypocrisy. They still drew a big crowd. Huge crowd. So you tell me at 580-5436, all this is the revenge of Bernie Sanders. Now in Arizona, and really there's not a lot of good in Arizona. Oh, I have my friend Jason Wilmot that hired me in Arizona. We got Cappy in Arizona. Most people, we got Liberal Steve in Arizona. I guess Arizona is Idaho without like the good stuff. So here we have a Democratic congressional debate, and this is, again, the libs, so they have to pander to it.
I think they're two different subjects. I think we have to absolutely rip up ICE. What ICE is doing in our communities is fearful. It is absolutely against due process of law, and it is completely un-American. I think we need to defund it, and I think we need to focus on reforming what they are about.
And that's a white guy. I guess it's off. We have to keep score on the race thing, but did you hear the latest about the Biden administration? Apparently, the open borders led to the fentanyl train, like the runaway train, but the fentanyl train. And apparently, and we had a doctor on from Seattle that was talking about this, that the overdose and the deaths are down because the fentanyl is not flowing through the borders like Donald Trump said. But here we have people, and we have people that really want to again and again and again. What do they want to do? They want to abolish ICE. Well, look at what ICE did. They closed the borders. The country is a lot safer. We've got sleeper cells that we're trying to eradicate. Was Kristi Noem a disaster? Yes. Was Corey Lewandowski a disaster? Yes. But we're going to rip up ICE. We're going to target ICE. We have media outlets here that talk about people being oppressed but still won't cover the little girl that was killed by the illegal, or the husband of the family members, the father that was killed by the illegal. We don't cover those stories, but we will cover the people that were allegedly victims of ICE because they were engaged in alleged illegal activity. That's why we've lost the country. That's why we have to fight. That's why people move to Idaho. And that's why we continue to inform. And that's why we have the rise of democratic socialism. And that is scary when you're thinking about it. When you're thinking about what these people want to do, abolish ICE, no borders, tax-free this, tax-free that. The problem with that is you still have to pay for it. And the rich, they're all moving to Florida. The rich, they're finding ways to build even greater gated communities. What about everybody else? What about the people that believe in America, love America, and want to do their very best to preserve America? As we celebrate our 250th year, instead we have people that want to tear down ICE. Okay, what's the solution? We just let people run wild and free, sir?
I think they're two different subjects. I think we have to absolutely rip up ICE. What ICE is doing in our communities is fearful. It is absolutely against due process of law, and it is completely un-American. I think we need to defund it, and I think we need to focus on reforming what they are about.
Well, you heard it here first. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget this afternoon, Lars Larson. Lars is always rolling. But your thoughts on the rise of democratic socialism? Like I said, the brilliance of the world that we live in today is you can get a equivalent to a college education, a PhD, just by watching these lectures and videos. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing a return to a totalitarian cult of personality, popular culture regime, in my opinion.
I want to ask about the New York races. Nice that you mentioned that. Are you worried at all about the influence of the Democratic Socialists in primaries there and across the country?
Well, there are 4 races in New York City, and I'm standing behind every single one of those races that involve an incumbent, of course, and that's Adriano Espaillat, Dan Goldman, Yvette Clarke, and Grace Meng. And then we're watching closely 2 open seat races that House Democratic leadership hasn't gotten involved in by custom. And that, of course, is in the 7th Congressional District, where Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez and a coalition of very progressive Democrats, including Tish James, the Attorney General, and the public advocate Jumaane Williams, along with the Working Families Party, and many of the unions that we work closely with are on one side of that race, with DSA on the other. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Hakeem. The guy that prosecuted President Trump, Dan Goldman, out. Not loony enough. Kevin Miller, 580-KIDO. I always like to keep you up to date on what's going on locally. Apparently, this new development in Star, Moyle Junction development in Star, heads to a public hearing July 7th. I don't know really what the public hearing is going to be, regardless of where you live. They pretty much rubber stamp everything anyway. Let's see. The proposed Moyle Junction development sits between North Moyle Avenue and North Plummer Road along State Street, less than a half a mile from the future Highway 16 and 44 interchange. Trying to think about this. The plan calls for retail, restaurant, office space, medical space to serve Star's growing population. The land is already designated as commercial under Star's comprehensive plan. More congestion, whether you live in Cuna, Caldwell, Star, whatever. I love this. One local business person said could position Star as a destination for shopping and services. I suppose if you're pulling from Emmett and Middleton, but not Eagle, bringing in some medical business in there where I think our area needs right now, we pretty much have to travel out of the air for that. Well, okay, you have to travel everywhere. On traffic concerns, the city has been proactive. Here's one. Tell me, please, I'll give you a family 4-pack to the Boise Music Festival. What city has been proactive when it comes to traffic? Maybe Meridian. But Meridian had the infrastructure and had a plan and everything else. I don't think any city has been proactive. There's one way in and one way out. When you're looking, and I live in Star, so I every day, it's funny. Our man Dylan goes through. He goes, dude, this is horrible. I love this. Our mayor has done a great job in working with the highway district. We have to live through the construction, which is the hard part. Dude, get a life. No, except if you have to go somewhere. I love this. The planned State Street widening and roundabout connecting Highway 16 to the Interstate 84. Nobody likes roundabouts. You know what I mean? Nobody likes roundabouts. Nobody likes any of these things. But again, it's propaganda. I think Mayor Chadwick does a great job. Good dude. A friend. And look, we've done shows from Star. We've done everything from Star. Okay? You can't tell me that the traffic situation is proactive. But what we have here, and I doubt that the public can stop this thing. I love this. Here we have somebody else, somebody who lives in Eagle. We're scared of too much development. So that's kind of our concern. It's like, just let's have some open spaces. Is there nothing wrong with wide open spaces, like the Dixie Chicks used to say, wide open spaces? Let's see some cows and stuff. Like, rather than just all the shops and everything. I like that. This person says they'd drive a little further if it meant preserving open space. What I love to do, and maybe you're one of these people, this is your home. No, not your home that you moved to, or you were forced to move to, or you moved to for the opportunity, and you grabbed a Boise State shirt and goes, I'm in Idaho, and I'm going to get a russet potato. No, you're a native. And I'm not talking about people that, I'm talking about people that were born here that can tell me about, Locust Grove Elementary School or Meridian High School when it was the only one around and all these things. And not to demean anybody that's moved here. I moved here. But you think about what has happened, and there have been a lot of people that have made a ton of money because the land was not that valuable. Now, if you have land, you're a gazillionaire. But all this development, and you don't have to be Tea Party Bob to figure out who's going to pay for it. Who's going to afford to go to these shops? Who's going to afford to be able to do any of this stuff? You, me? And what about the open spaces and the congestion? It's just crazy. But I love this this idea. Proactive? No, it has. I mean, let's be honest. When you have one way in and out of a town, it's not being proactive. 580 KIDO. My ears are burning. Let's go to traffic with Dave Burnett. Get you to work the right way. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Pacific Steel and Recycling Studio, heavy, steady traffic on the freeway grinding its way out of Candy County into Ada County and into the Meridian area. Still working that accident at State and Sierra View right near Park. It's the biggest music event of the year, the Boise Music Festival, returning this Saturday. 3 local stages featuring more than 25 Idaho artists, bands throughout the day. The main stage, Carnival, great food, and more than 40 food vendors Saturday at Expo Idaho. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Coming up next hour, good news for those of you that love gasoline. No, not you, your EV people, but if you are an American and you love gas, well, the president's doing something. Now, the media will keep this from you, but the president is doing something to give us some relief. And I don't know of any other president that is doing what the president has done. And I'll tell you about that coming up. Coming up very, very soon at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Again, the top national story has to be the Democratic Socialist taking over New York. And, maybe if they had let Bernie run and whether he had won or not, it would have been okay. Here's one moments ago from the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court just sided with the Trump administration 6-3, allowing the Department of Homeland Security to treat green card holders, lawful permanent residents, as seeking admission and strip or suspend their legal status when they leave the country and attempt to return to America while facing criminal charges. Who are the three dissenters? The libs, of course, because they don't stand for law and order and justice and anything else. The libs. That's breaking news. We'll have that as well. The president overnight saying, so I have Iran on the ropes, ready to go down for the fall, willing to give us practically anything, and for the first time in decades, respecting the hell out of the United States and the president, me. And the U.S. Senate decides to have a poorly timed and meaningless War Powers Act vote, telling the number one sponsor of terror in the world that the United States doesn't like what I'm doing to them, and I must stop. And by doing so has provided aid and comfort to the enemy? 4 Republican losers voted with the loons. We'll talk about it next. Hey! Do you love America? We love you, America. 580 KIDO. Fox News Radio on 580 KIDO. Jared, it's been a while. Great to have you with us.
Nice to be back.
You know, it's fascinating about you. Sometimes we'll go to you and I go, dude, he's not going to be that because Donald Trump just said, Jared, get my office.
Not today.
Pretty wild, though. It's never a dull moment with the administration.
It happens. No. It's a really big day for President Trump today. He heads in about 2 hours over to Capitol Hill. He is going to meet with Senate Republicans at a time where, you know, it's a little frosty with Senate Republicans, right? The president is really trying to get them to kill the filibuster, pass this Save America Act, do some other things that he wants done. John Thune says they do not have the votes to do that. This is not something that is realistic. They need to focus on what they can actually do. And so that's a relationship that I don't want to say is soured. I still think that the two of them realize they need one another, right? But you don't see President Trump talk about John Thune in the way that he talks about, say, for instance, the Speaker of the House or certainly other Republicans in Congress. And so I'm fascinated to see how that exchange goes. He comes back, meets with the NATO Secretary General, something else that has been a little frosty at times as they try and figure out kind of a path forward for Ukraine, for these threats of the U.S. Shrinking its footprint in the European theater, troop movements out of Germany, out of Italy, obviously a big dust-up over the weekend with the Italian Prime Minister. At some point today, we expect President Trump to also meet with top defense contractors. He is trying to push these contractors to, you know, put out more weapons faster. There really is a concern in the Defense Department about munitions. There have been a lot of munitions used, obviously, in the war against Iran. They need to replenish those. There are a lot that have gone out the door in support of Ukraine. President Trump is trying to get these defense contractors to make more American weapons quicker and cheaper. And that will be perhaps a contentious meeting at times. And then he gets to do, I think, what he enjoys best about being president, and that's preside over a big patriotic rally. He'll do that tonight. He will give what he's calling a rally to end all rallies at kickoff of the Great American State Fair. Recall, this is the event that kind of got mired in controversy over the last couple of weeks because all of these artists pulled out and said they weren't going to perform after all. And then President Trump said maybe we won't do the event, and then said he'll headline it and he'll have Lee Greenwood sing and the military bands sing and perform. There's going to be a series of military jet flyovers and a rally that could go late into the evening, at least here on the East Coast.
Did you survive the UFC? I know we tried to lobby to get you in.
No, I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go because it was, I mean, I couldn't get a ticket. And the press access was actually super limited because it wasn't technically a White House event. It was a UFC event. And so you had to be credentialed through them, and they kind of limited how all of that worked. I don't know a lot about UFC, to be honest, but I have spoken to a lot of people who do know a lot about UFC, watched the fights, and were like, they were amazing. Like, it was top-tier cards. Everybody seemed really happy with it. That huge construction, we called it the Claw. It is starting to come down. In fact, you do not see it now at the front of the White House entrance, so things are starting to get back to normal. But I think President Trump enjoyed the event. He's talked a lot about it kind of unprompted, and it was something that we'll see if it's replicated in the years ahead. Obviously, the other big event that the president's putting on here for this Freedom 250 is in August with this IndyCar race. That is a ticket that my son is eager for me to find a way to get. So I'll keep you guys posted if I can play hero and impress. My son's so unimpressed with my job that if I can pull this off, maybe I turn the tide a little bit.
Well, we're impressed with you. I know that means a lot coming from Idaho.
I think it's part of what, I think when you're a father, like I remember covering President Obama, and he would do these events with his daughters who at the time were like in middle school, which is my son's age. And, they were rolling their eyes and, on it. So I was like, he's president of the United States. And the kids are like, yeah, come on, Dad. So I get it. It's fine. But maybe I can play hero and see if I can get them access to this Freedom 250 IndyCar race. It's going to be on the National Mall here around the streets of D.C., which will be par for the course. I mean, you can see cars try and speed down and make tight turns down Constitution in Pennsylvania 5 days a week here in D.C., so it should be nothing for these IndyCar guys.
I saw your colleague Brett Baer, who you share a workspace with when you're not at the White House, and I go, if Brett's there, Jared should be there, number one. And number two, having been to the White House a few times, what struck me is the historic nature. It's so old. And then it turned into like locker rooms at a working facility must have been earth-shattering for the UFC people.
Yeah, again, because I wasn't there, but I saw these pictures. I mean, they were in the Indian Treaty Room, which is across the street in the EEOB. And, those walkouts were really cool, walking through like I mean, again, I think it was a neat event. Obviously, there's going to be people that believe that this was not how the White House ought to be used, that the White House should be held in higher esteem. People are free to have their opinions, but I can tell you from the president's point of view, this was a win. And I think for a lot of his supporters, and honestly, even people who aren't political, like I've talked to people who aren't particularly big fans of the president, but are UFC fans, and they were like, yeah, this was a good event. So we'll see if they do another one or not.
Jared, we appreciate it. We hope you get to go see the IndyCars.
I'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you. Jared Alper joining us live from the White House. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So let's pay this off. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Team Mazda. Team Mazda, Aaron and Joel, working for you, man. Those guys, by the way, end of the month, deals, deals, deals. 4th of July, deals, deals, deals. Team Mazda, deals, deals, deals. Torn from the headlines, President tells gas companies to drop prices fast or face price gouging probe. Nobody likes a probe, man. Whether you're going to the proctologist or you're a gas company. Gotta love this, man. The president telling gas companies, maybe the president listens to Kevin Miller because I say they gouge us. And then we have Al, the apologist, the establishment apologist, Al. Tea Party Bob, the capitalist. It's just how the oil companies are. Eat your porridge, boy. That's what he's really saying. Yet President Trump backs the people. He backs 580 KIDO's Kevin Miller. And he said he has instructed the Department of Justice to open up price gouging probes because gas prices are not dropping fast enough following his first stage peace deal with the mullahs. Mullah. Now, wait a minute. For years and years on this beloved radio show, I have heard and heard. People say, It goes up fast, but it doesn't go down fast. Oh, if that were the case for a lot of things in human biology. However, maybe it is. To young go the goodies. However, think about this for a minute. The president now agrees with us, saying there's no reason for these gas prices to remain so artificially inflated. If you don't lower your prices, greedy, grubbing oil companies, you're going to get the probe. And it's not going to be a good probe. It's going to be a hard probe, a cold probe, a DOJ probe. Are there any good probes from the DOJ? I don't think so. Gas prices, they're falling. The average price per gallon stood at $3.92 on Wednesday compared to $4.50 a month ago, according to the gatekeepers of all things gas, AAA Motor Club. Mr. Trump says we can do better. Well, Mr. Trump says we better do better. Quote, the big oil companies are not dropping their price at the pump commensurate with the sharply lower prices they are paying for oil. Those prices are dropping like a rock. In other words, customers are being gouged. He said this on Truth Social. America and Israel launched military operations against the mullahs on February 28th. And then we had the gas prices, the oil prices go up to over $100 a barrel. The price of Brent crude, not to be confused with Fred crude, Freddy Krueger, Krugy Krug, dropped below $75 a barrel. And yet gas prices are not going down further. I agree with President Trump. I've said it's been a ripoff again and again and again. And finally, we have a president that is going to look things and put things in the proper perspective and say, you know something? You're right about that. You know something, Kevin Miller? You're right. Gas prices are way too high. And we need to do something about it. By the way, speaking of doing something about it, we're down to the final days of June, which means we're down to the final days of some really incredible offers at Team Mazda and the pre-owned Superstore. Let's start with the big one. Right now, you can get 0% financing for 72 months plus no payments for 90 days on the Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid. This hybrid that makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. Plug it into a regular outlet at home and get about 25 miles of all-electric driving for your daily routine. Then when it's time for a road trip, it automatically switches to gas, so you never have to worry about finding a charging station. Now, if you're shopping compact SUVs, you owe it to you. That's right, Big Daddy. To compare the Mazda CX-50 to the Toyota RAV4, a lot of people do end up choosing the Mazda. Right now, Team Mazda has a lease special on CX-50s for just $290 a month. And for affordable, dependable transportation, don't overlook the Mazda 3. It's one of the few fun-to-drive commuter cars still out there. Team has 84-month financing at 5.9 APR, or you can lease it for just $219 a month. And remember, only Team gives you 130% of book value for your trade with a minimum $2,000 trade allowance, even if your current vehicle is a worthless clunker. Boy, isn't that nice what they do for your team? Get pre-approval right now at GoTeamCredit.com. There's no impact on your credit score, and you'll instantly see your buying power. Team Mazda, the pre-owned Superstore on the Boulevard or online at GoTeamMazda.com. That's GoTeamMazda.com. Please tell them Millie, not Vanilli, sent you. K-Millie. Let's go to the Watchdog in Eagle. Mark, good morning. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I hope you're having a good day there at KIDO.
I thought of you.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm so glad you brought this up about the oil. You know, how many times here at KIDO on the Kevin Miller Show have we gone over this like a broken record about the speculators, the thugs on Wall Street, your gangster banksters, the oil companies themselves who have made in the tens of billions of dollars off this war with artificially inflated oil prices. You can defend people. Sorry. I love you, Tea Party Bob, but I know you worked on Wall Street, and I have kind of fought the issue about the speculators and the crap, and the supply and demand bit is all a hoax. It's a manipulative game to drive the prices up. Do you remember that movie called Trading Places? It's one of the movies that had Don Amici and I believe Ralph Bellamy, and it was one of the movies that helped launch Eddie Murphy's career besides Beverly Hills Cop. Remember what that movie was about? They took a guy, in this case Eddie Murphy, off the streets and made him into a stock trader. And he pulled a trick on them at the end of the movie where it had to do with orange juice futures. And when you watch that, remember how that movie goes. It gives you an idea of what happens on Wall Street, what happens with the gangster banksters, the speculators. And another point that I want to make here about how this is such a thuggish, manipulative, mafia-like operation on Wall Street is if you look right now, you have a show, I believe, that comes on. I haven't listened to it yet. It's a guy who sells precious metals and talks about precious metals, right? I believe it's on Saturday or something here at KIDO because I think you advertise for it. Okay, now we've heard commercials from Hannity about gold hitting $5,000 an ounce. I want you to look, people, today. Go to some of those sites where it shows what the market is right now. Gold had hit a high of about $5,700 and change, almost $5,800 an ounce. It's down to where earlier this morning I noticed it just dropped under $4,000 an ounce. Then you look at silver. Silver had hit an all-time high of almost $128 an ounce. Then we had, and now it's down to about $58 an ounce. Now, here it comes, and I want to show you the fraud and the lies about this, about how gold and silver are hedges against inflation. When you go to a website like KIDO and you click on that, it says, oh, gold dropped. Why did gold drop? Why did metal prices drop? Oh, the strengthening of the U.S. dollar. I have seen that BS line put on their website I don't know how many times. And what a joke is about that is the U.S. dollar has not strengthened at all. You still are paying a lot more for meat in the markets, other things, groceries, tires for your car, clothes, whatever, at overly inflated prices or overhyped up prices. And this is an example of the fraud and lies. So you have these shows that are on radio, whatever, or on TV about investing in gold and silver, and then you see what the speculators did to suck people in to invest in that. And then you have the silver now at less than half of its all-time high just prior to the war. Just prior to the war and the actions over there in Iran. Okay, now why is that? Why is it? If oil prices were shooting up, that increases. We've always been told it makes inflation. It makes everything else that oil is driven on, meaning transportation, everything. Look at the airline prices, Kevin. Look at how artificially high those ended up getting kicked up because of what happened in Iran and the manipulation of the market. Yeah, I'm not saying that things weren't, the supply line didn't get cut off, but for here in the United States, no, we don't need to import anything like what we used to in the past because of the shale oil that we get out of the Balkan region up on the Canadian border. But looking at all this, it just shows you the thievery, the gangsterism on Wall Street. They suck people into the metals market there, and look what happened. People are now taking a bath with their gold that they bought at maybe $5,700 an ounce, and there's always a premium. That's the spot metal price. So if you go and buy like a coin or whatever, there's a premium added onto that. So it's the same thing with the silver. And now silver, again, is half of what it was worth prior to the war earlier this year, and the same with gold.
Wait a minute. Silver's gone. So wait a minute. You could be our metals expert. So silver went down?
Oh, my gosh, yes. Silver had hit a high earlier this year at 127 and change an ounce.
Holy moly.
And, yes. You can look that up. If you look at some of these websites where they show metal prices at certain, it's like gasbuddies.com. They'll show you what it hit. Okay, it's down now today at under $60 an ounce. It's about 50. It was about 56 and change a little while ago. And before I called here at KIDO to your show, Kevin, it ran up to about 58 an ounce. It's been slowly dropping. Gold, the same thing. Gold has dropped from a high of over $5,700 an ounce to just a little while ago. It was under 4,000. Now it kicked back up to just a little over 4,000 an ounce. People are getting sucked in with this stuff and watching these commercials. I've always said if things got bad in this country, food, shelter, clothing, water, precious metals, you can't eat the damn stuff. Maybe for trading. And when one day happens, when they find out that the dollar finally sinks in value and goes down the tubes, what are they going to do? They're going to redo what they did back in when the Federal Not Reserve was created in 1933, recall all the gold. So all the people go out and buy these precious metals, but especially gold, are going to find out the government could pull this on them again. So I just want to point out the lies, the fraud, the gangsterism of Wall Street, these speculators, and what they have done.
But Mark, with all due respect, they're winning.
Well, they are. Yeah, they're winning our money. They're winning our money.
But it's what I'm saying is people are wholeheartedly jumping in and doing this. And let me put it to you this way. If you're in Wall Street, you're killing it right now. Now, there's a chance you can keep killing it. There's also a chance you could have a little roller coaster, which, as you and I both know, has happened in every historical time except now.
Well, look at Tesla. Look what happened with Tesla, and when with that new thing that the Musk just started up, and all he just became the world's first trillionaire. Okay, so you can say that about Micron and all these and how they went up. Sure, people who have the inside knowledge and know what they're doing and how to play those markets and have people, and like you have said it here, Kevin, on your show here at KIDO, that a very small percentage of the population of this country invests in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It is not the majority. It's 28% of the people play the markets and make money off it or lose money. Right now it's going out, and Alan Greenspan just died recently, as we know, at 100 years old, I believe. He was the one who used the term irrational exuberance.
Good point, Mark. Thank you for the call. And to his wife, Andrea Mitchell, we send our condolences. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. You miss any portion of the program, we've got the podcast. If you have people that live in other states, why not do this? Send them the podcast. You got liberals in other states, send them the podcast. We'll do a conversion. Please, that would be great. By the way, a couple of headlines. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce set a July 3rd wedding with the Madison Square Garden celebration planned. Now, if you're ever been in the wedding business, what is it, 50% of all marriages fail, sadly? I don't think you've ever been a winner until you've failed. And if you have been a winner without failing, you're not a real winner, in my opinion. Anyway, here we have this big wedding. You're going to have people going, oh, isn't this great? I'm going to get tickets. It's the hottest event of the year. Is there nothing that these two egomaniac narcissists will not do to garner attention? I can say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for blessing me that I wasn't born in the age of the TikTok, the schmick-talk, and all sorts of other things. Thank you. Because why not just have, does everything have to be a public spectacle? Does everything have to be a public show? I'm not going out like that. Big weddings mean big expectations. By the way, wonder what that prenup looks like. Conservative influencer, I've never heard of this person, C.J. Pearson tells GOP politicians to join TikTok. That's where the young voters are. He's 23. How many mortgages does this guy have? He started his online activism at 8. And now at 23, he's hosted primetime Republican gatherings and met with President Trump multiple times. You ever cracked a mic? You ever been on AM radio? You ever have danced the dance with the big dogs, Mr. Pearson? Most likely not. Have you ever talked to Tea Party Bob? Have you ever taken a tongue lashing from Al in Ontario? Jim from Star, been inspired by Patriot Ray? Have you ever worn a turkey outfit? Most likely not. But in my America, that's when you've been the big time. Mr. Trump is credited to TikTok, or TokTok as we like to call it, with his ability to increase support from young voters. A Pew Research group found 63% of voters 18 to 49 are on TokTok. According to Reuters, Mr. Trump's garnered 3 million followers on TokTok within 24 hours of joining the network. I don't know, man. I don't know. So get on the TokTok if you want to be hip. I always like people like me that try to get on there and go, hey, I got 5 views. And then you try to do something like stupid. So, as many of you know, I am, how should I put this? I am tied to a person from another radio station. He and I make appearances together, and he's very shocked by this because it's the radio odd couple of the Treasure Valley. Matt Walling Mateo from Kiss FM, St. Paul's product, Gonzaga product. He tells me that all the time, as all the Zag people do. And because we appear in videos together, again, I'm Felix to his Oscar. People come up to him and say, hey, where's Kevin Miller? Or they'll say, where's Mateo? I go, I'm not his keeper. So sometimes, and this happened like 5 or 6 years ago, we would start doing videos where we would say goofy, silly things. And the last time we were at the garage sale, not this year, last year, we did a video because I'm boycotting videos with him right now. And we're next to this bouncy house. And I go, I like bouncy houses. And I was supposed to jump into the bouncy house. Well, I didn't know that the bouncy house was tied down. So literally, I almost broke my neck. Boom, because those bouncy houses are hard. And, we're going to go viral on TikTok. And we got like 10,000 views of me hitting my head. Is that value? Is that adding value to somebody's life? Had to hold off the sneeze. No! So go out and do something. Volunteer. And document things. To be inspirational. Not self-aggrandizing like Taylor and Travis. Some person who has dedicated himself to the radio community here in Boise. Dave Burnett with 580 KIDO Traffic. Kevin Miller in the morning. Brought to you by our friends at T Mazda, this hour's sponsor of the program. Thank you all for joining us. And again, as you heard Dave talking about the Boise Music Festival. And earlier we were talking about TikTok. But how about this? President Trump saying, hey, man, let's lower some gas prices. Hey, man, let's get those things down. He's right about that. Greedy, grubby oil companies. Now, we'll hear from their defenders coming up. And coming up next hour, a man that, well, I think he's going to burn a lot of bridges by being on this program. But he likes to live in danger. He dances on danger and dines on death. That is Greg Pruitt will join us from Honor, Idaho, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, and his various other thriving platforms. We'll hear from him on what's going on politically in Idaho. We've had the big GOP convention. We've had the fallout of that. We've had the re-election of everybody because primaries are the general election. We have the mayor of Boise on social media. A lot of things going on, if you will. A lot of things going on when you're taking a look at politics and movements and, are good people getting out of it? I don't know. One thing I do know is we live in Idaho. Thank goodness we don't live in New York.
The Goldman Lander primary, I agree with you. I think Dan's going to lose. I don't agree with much of anything he's done in Congress, but I'm surprised you sort of glossed over the main issue in this race, which is Israel. I mean, Dan Goldman is a congressman, and he's Jewish, and he went into a coffee shop this weekend in Brooklyn, and they said, you're not welcome here anymore. Brad Lander is out speaking in mosques, telling those people that he'd like to go align himself with Ilhan Omar and the rest of the squad. Dan Goldman's only sin, I guess, is that he thinks Israel has a right to exist. And for that, that has been the principal issue in this. And you've got the mayor of New York City, Mamdani, out saying about AIPAC and Jewish Americans who have participated in our politics that they are, quote, monsters. What is happening right now in New York City, the Democrat socialist takeover of the Democratic Party, should frighten not just Jewish Americans, but all Americans everywhere, because this is the direction the Democrats are headed nationally. Look what's happening in Michigan, and it is frightening. Throwing Democrat Jewish congressmen out of coffee shops in Brooklyn, New York. It's not 1930s Germany. This is the United States of America.
And by the way, Jack Schlossberg also ran into this. He has been disproportionately asked despite repeatedly stating his position on.
Yeah. Yeah. How about that one? How about that one, true believer? This is not 1930s Germany. Sounds like the first hour of this program. Let's roll on. We go to Elaine with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Hello, Elaine.
Hey there, Kevin. I just wanted to comment. When I first heard a couple days ago that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift were going to, do the Madison Square Garden kind of celebration, silly me, I assumed being, the billionaire that she is, that she would be, just throwing a party and not charging people. And so you just telling me this just actually makes sense in a sad way. But I also wanted to say, as an older person that's watched a lot of people marry and many divorce, it seems to me the bigger the show, right? The bigger the show, the more likely it's not about the marriage, and higher odds it will fail. So that's my prediction.
No, and we've all been around. You can kind of tell when it's gonna last. But bridezillas, groomzillas, parentzillas, and the wedding industry has always fascinated me. And Elaine, I don't know. We've all been to weddings and stuff, but to me, it's the ceremony, the this, that, and the other, and I have to make this special. And you're going, well, yeah, that's only one day out of whatever. And there are brilliant people that market the heck out of it and stuff. And obviously, sure, it's supposed to be a celebratory thing, but it's just fascinating to me. Just you have to have this and you have to have that, and I don't know. I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Don't you think that's gotten worse with generations, recent generations? I feel like, that we have to do this, we have to announce it this way, blah, blah, blah. I feel like back when I got married in 1989, which totally dates me, but we did it ourselves, taped our music. I borrowed my sister's wedding dress. I catered my own wedding. I had somebody else serve it, but I made the food because we had just bought a house, right? We were focused on the marriage, the future, our lives together. And I feel like all that other stuff takes away from what you're really doing and what really matters. And honestly, it was, granted it was my wedding, but it still was, to me, one of the funnest weddings I've ever been to. And I think it cost us, including photography, right? Like less than $3,000. So anyway, I granted 1989.
Hold on. Let me don't apologize for that. Just hearing the day 1989 should inspire so many people. That's not derogatory. That's the day, man. 89, life was ahead of you.
And happily married. People say, "Oh, you're still married." And I usually say happily married for 37 years because you can be married for 37 years, but to be happily married for 37 years, that's grateful for that for sure.
I mean, that was in the age of the cassettes, in the cars, the mixtapes and all that, I'm
anyway. So let's see. I certainly wish them well, but I just think, wow, that tells you a lot. That's all I can tell you. That tells you a lot.
Well, and nobody thinks critically, oh, look at Taylor, look at Travis. Do you not think that this guy wants to be in movies and she wants to get a larger audience, so maybe this is more like a merger than a marriage?
Yes, and also greed, right? That, to me, this is, greed at its worst. And that's one of the 7 deadly sins, FYI. So,
can you imagine the VIP package?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I love that, the VIP package.
Well, you won't see me there, Kevin.
Well, Elaine, you've made my day with just you're happily married since '89. I love '89.
It was the 80s, right? Music in the 80s.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, back. Hold on. An ode to big hair. Whether you liked it or not, I loved big hair.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I still, I hear sticks, like, some of those old things that happened back then. I love that era of Prince music, and I always wanted to see him in person. And so one of my regrets was I always kept thinking, I'll do it later, and then he died, right? So I never got to see him in person. But
Prince was so gifted because of his music, and I'll tell you the weirdest thing is, in one of my goofy travels, I saw Prince, but he wasn't Prince. He was the symbol. So he played all this like weirdo music, and I didn't appreciate him at the time. But it was wild. But you think about it, here's a guy that played every instrument and could sing and could write. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I ran into quick fun story. I was in the Albertsons, my Albertsons in my neighborhood, and I start talking to this gentleman in the dairy section. He was talking to me, and we're talking dairy. But we quickly went into, the 80s music. This guy was a musician who came from Seattle, played drums. Anyway, we start talking about the 80s and Prince and Michael Jackson, the whole thing. And he says, yeah, one of his best buddies in Seattle played with Prince, in the day. And, of course, the first thing I said was, boy, I bet he's got stories. Right? And he goes, oh, yeah. He said lots of fighting and lots of drugs is what he told me. But I thought, wow, here I am in Idaho, and I run into somebody who knows somebody who was in the Prince band, the Revolution or whatever they call it. Prince.
Oh, yeah. But you remember Sheila E., and, of course, the iconic movie Purple Rain.
That's it. To me, that was the iconic. I know it wasn't his beginning, but I think that's when he sort of really gained ground. I'm not so much versed on the later Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince,
right?
But the Purple Rain days, iconic. I just saw the movie like replayed on some cable channel, and I couldn't believe it. Took me back. I'll tell you.
Okay, one more for you.
Yeah,
more stay in the time.
Talented.
Yeah, more stay in the time.
Yep. Yes. Have you heard?
Exactly.
It's called The Bird.
Jungle Love. O-E-O-E-O. Yes. Boy,
yes.
To the young people, we're sounding like a couple people at the home, but I'm so with you on that.
I know. Well, thank you for starting my day with laughter.
Thank you, Elaine. You have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Appreciate that. And if you've never heard Jungle Love, O-E-O-E-O, go to YouTube now. I think I want to know you. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. This was the music in the day. Yeah, take that. Okay, we could go on and on, but this isn't the throwback show. Lee Joe, good morning. You're on 580 KIDO.
You say it's not the throwback show, but I'm not really sure. So so I won tickets, and I won 4 tickets, and I'm like, who am I gonna? So I went Father's Day to the granddaughter's house, granddaughter's house, and it turns out, I also listened to 80s music. Mostly the alternative, the Depeche Modes. That was what I liked to listen to. And then I discovered Rush Limbaugh, and after that, I barely listened to music. So that's kind of the end of my music era. And so when Marshmello and all these people come in to the Boise Music Festival, I'm like, oh, okay, sure. But if you let your granddaughter know that she's going to the concert with you, concerts, she will think you're the best grandpa ever. And I'm checking out the bands and trying to figure out what that music sounds like. It's not really that bad. It sounds pretty good. And now I'm the best grandpa ever, thanks to KIDO. So thank you, Kevin, for the opportunity to go to the music festival with my granddaughter.
Good for you.
Who is 10. So our dear mayor, our dear condescending, word salad, pure socialist mayor in her, you commented on the 23-year-old Republican that says everybody get on TikTok.
Yeah.
She's trying to do that. That's what she's trying to do. Hi, I'm young and I'm hip and I'm blah, 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 blah. And here's my faux excitement and here's my condescending instructions on what to do in a river and blah, blah, blah. And you're all such idiots and so simple. I'm just going to state the obvious and pretend like it's content. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think, with all due respect, I don't think she's that young.
That's what I'm saying. She's trying to be. She's trying to be doing what the young people do. Get on social media, make posts, and I've watched her posts. Like I say, she is literally the person who celebrates May Day, the Communist Founding Day, and the Haymarket riots, and comments on social media. I don't know if she's taken it down yet, but she's for the Mamdanis and all the commies that took over in New York. She's that kind of person. That's literally who she is, and she just doing her very best to quietly make sure that nobody knows that she's as anti-American as exists, and like you've demonstrated, the 4th of July parade. She ended it, and we brought it back, but she wants nothing to do with flying the flag.
And let me just jump in for 2 seconds. She cares more about the pride flag than the American flag. At least that's my view of her, and it's always been the view. It's been my view of her predecessor as well.
Well, and once again, wrapping the flag in the rainbow colors is the flag that the United States flag is flying on is a violation of U.S. flag code. She, her religion, and we have to say that it is her religion of the LMNOPs, that flag it's stated that it should not be flying with other banners or advertisements or anything of that nature. The flag should fly as the flag by itself. I don't care if you put it on the other two flagpoles, whatever. But the flag of the pole the flag of the United States flies on should not be decorated in anything. But, just let's spend the $15,000 and wrap it and promote a different religion than most people follow on taxpayer dollars. Hey, it's all fine. I'm a Democrat. I've got it's for the good of everyone. It's for the good of everyone. Just same old. It's a mental illness with those people, and it is a religion. And like Chandler and I were talking about the other day, the Republican Party, we're sitting here, we're fighting while this goes on, and we should be we should be united against LMNOP as a religion being promoted with tax dollars. Do what you want, just don't use my money for it, and don't push one religion over another, and they just go on, and we just kind of, bread and circuses. Let's have a giant wrestling match at the White House.
Can I? And we only have a couple seconds left, but can I hit you with? We have the Republicans fighting amongst themselves, and now we're going to end property taxes, which that's not going to happen. That's just to be popular. That's just to pander. And then we have the lib running wild in Boise, and nobody's focused on her but you and me. Am I missing something?
No, I think you've got it. And Florida's working on getting those taxes. Like you said, we've only got a couple seconds. We can go into it, but
here we'll get into that with Greg Pruitt. Here's one. Maybe if the governor said that, it would mean something.
Right. Exactly. And he's not going to. His cronies depend on it.
And when's the last time the governor talked to anybody running the Republican Party? Oh, never.
When's the last time he opened his mouth and made any public statement? It's the last time he was I was endorsed by Trump, and that's the only thing you heard out of him. It
works.
It's sickening. And he's sickening. I just can't understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there goes my invitation once again. God bless you, Lee Joe.
Thanks. I'll talk to you later, Kevin.
All right, love you, Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Good morning. They do great jobs. In fact, if you're watching the latest commercial, you'll see how they help the Boise Rescue Mission, and you'll see a guy dressed in a loud green, KIDO green shirt. The only one made in the world, that would be me. So, yes, that is me. Probably about 40 pounds heavier. Joining us now, we're trying to impress him, Greg Pruitt, Honor Idaho, Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. All things good about our great state. Our man, the intrepid reporter. The man who probably, once he's done with this program, will get many phone calls, Greg Pruitt. Hello, sir.
Oh, good. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
One of the few people that are not afraid to come on this show anymore. We appreciate that. What do they call it? The blockade continues. But thankfully, we have you on. And, you and I talked about the state GOP convention. You told me, hey, the Dorothy Moon would win. She did. And but not without a lot of controversy, not without a lot of people stating that, I don't want to lead the witness. You're the reporter from the Idaho Dispatch. You tell us, sir.
Yeah, it's always hard to take down an incumbent, essentially, no matter what the election is. It can be tough. And, there was a three-way race with her and Mark Fuller. And Mark Fuller was also going for the conservative portion of the delegates. And then Stephen Thane, who was going to be the kind of the representative, so to speak, for the more moderate wing of the party. And it's just a tough haul. A lot of people know Dorothy. And, it's just a lot easier to go with the incumbent, I think, most of the time. And a lot of the delegates like what she has done with the party, but clearly a chunk didn't, but not enough to ultimately unseat her from the position.
Yeah, that's a good start, not getting yourself in trouble with her. Let's continue to move into hot water. So what we saw, though, again, she has very powerful allies that carry her water. As the chairman, she can put her people in. And from what I understand, it wasn't easy, especially when the state treasurer of the GOP resigned, saying that if she were reelected, he would not run again because the whole party is broke. It's 50th in the country in fundraising. That wasn't an issue. And when it's the cult of personality, good or bad, people are going to elect people they're comfortable with. But it was a pretty emotional speech that was played over and over again on social media. Were you shocked by that?
You're talking about Steve Bender's speech?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. He's been doing work for the party for a really long time, and I think just decided that he was going to throw his hat in and just say, "Hey, look, if Mark Fuller wins, I'll stay. If he doesn't, and if it ends up being Dorothy, I'm not going to run for chair again, for treasurer." So I wasn't really shocked about the speech. I have some committee members that sit on the committee, the state GOP committee, that had told me there's just been a lot of angst and a lot of infighting, even within the committee, and a lot of people frustrated, in particular, excuse me, like you mentioned, with the fundraising aspect of the party, and that's just become kind of a hot. That was kind of the main topic that seemed to swell around the division there.
Yeah, didn't really move the needle. You and I both predicted this years ago when Moon was elected, that this would happen. It happens to everybody. It's not particular to her, but the fundraising is troubling considering you live in a ruby red, the reddest of the red, to quote Butch Otter. So, Greg Pruitt, we'll put you on the spot. Why are people not giving money to the state Republican Party?
Well, there's several aspects of this that I guess you could look at. Her defense was it's Idaho, it's a small state. There aren't as many donors as in some other states. And I think part of that doesn't hold up too well because states like Utah and Wyoming and others that have, maybe a little bit more Republicans or the same amount of Republicans, they're doing really well with their fundraising. And so, is it that the fact that we're just a smaller state? I don't think so. That doesn't seem to hold up against some of the other smaller states that seem to be doing a lot better. And so, and here's the thing, Kevin, is it's not that we're just last. I mean, we're significantly in last, right? I mean, somebody's going to be last, but if the numbers between last and state number 40 are all about the same per donor, then okay, everybody's maybe doing pretty well. We're just so far behind, and I think that was one aspect of it. You could say, well, Donald Trump's the president, so maybe donors don't want to donate. I don't know. The other part that you have to look at is, are we doing fundraising properly? Are we out doing the right kind of events, the right types of pitches to high-dollar donors? And, I mean, there's so many questions about, and I don't know, I don't follow Dorothy's day-to-day, but a lot of people seemed to think, at least that were opposed to her, that the hardcore good fundraising that we need to fight the ballot initiative has not been done. That was their contention.
Well, also, you've had posts on social media telling people not to donate to the party. And these people are Republicans saying that the party doesn't give to candidates. And, social media can be the driver for it. And then you have the Idaho Majority Club that has raised a lot of money. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll go around saying it on social media. I haven't given to the GOP, national or state, in a really long time, because the GOP machine, by and large, most of the time ends up supporting rhinos. So I don't really care to support the machine that is giving to rhinos and stuff like that. I'm also kind of the opinion, I think your money is maybe better spent helping the candidates you really want to support, because the money is going to their candidacies. So, but there are people that do go around and say, hey, don't bother. I honestly, Kevin, don't think that has very much impact. I don't think.
My point being, though, Greg, at 580 KIDO, Honor Idaho's Greg Pruitt with us, is that money can be raised in the state. Now, again, different crowd, but money can be raised in the state through channels that, when you had a previous chairman that was voted out, Tom Luna, could get for the party. So the money's there, is my point.
Yeah, there's money to be had, and I think that's the hard part when you're the chair, obviously, is you have to be able to try and pull in money, even from people that maybe don't agree with your platform as much as maybe they agreed with Tom Luna's. Look, no, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of people who have worked closely with Dorothy have had a lot of issues with her personality, and they say she's a little bit too overbearing, all this kind of stuff. And maybe for some high-dollar donors, that was really off-putting, and didn't want to donate to the party because they didn't like the direction that she was taking it or how she was leading it or whatever. That's always going to be the case. I mean, to be fair, if you had a mega conservative donor and they were sick and tired of rhinos and Tom Luna got reelected, maybe you'd lose that funding, so.
Well, but again, you just were really, really last. It doesn't matter. And we congratulate Moon for winning. However, you and I are looking at this as you, the reporter, me, the political scientist. And for people that aren't following this every day, we're being objective here. We're not calling people names. We're just saying this is the case that it is. We go back to Barry Peterson. They did the same thing to him, but not to this extent. And I can remember he saying on this show, the governor's bending me over when he was talking about Butch Otter. So you have to be like the United Nations. That's the worst job you can get in this state. You don't get paid for it. I've seen that job chew up a ton of people, with the exception of being Tom Luna. He seemed to thrive on that job. You remember Jonathan Parker. You remember Steve Yates. You remember Norm Semenko, Raul Labrador. They all had challenging times within the state GOP, which is fascinating. One more final question about this. But on one hand, people move to Idaho and they go, it's the reddest of the red, and that you have 5 political parties. Now, again, you from the Idaho Dispatch, Honor Idaho, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, you work with all these people, and they tell you things. Most notably, whether it's your opinion or not, we're asking for you to give us your thoughts on, what makes this political structure so unique and yet so frustrating when we're talking about the party politics in Idaho. It should be very simple. The liberal loons, like the folks in Boise, should lose and we should win, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, I mean, it never is, especially in state party politics. It's always a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that have moved here are very conservative and conservative leaning, and they have no idea what they've walked into with the current infighting, so to speak, within the party. I don't even know if you want to call it infighting at this point. I think there's just multiple. There's like essentially 3 parties within the party, all fighting for power, and that's somewhat a byproduct of you live in a state that is 80% Republican. You're just, at some point you get to the level of, well, we need it to be more Republican or we need it to be very moderate Republican. And that's what the fight's over. It's not really over the Democrats. The Democrats essentially don't hold power here. So the fighting turns towards each other and trying to push the party further to the right or further to the left. And that's just the dynamic that a state like this has.
Yeah, it is really, really fascinating yet frustrating. Greg, can you hang on for a moment?
Yes, sir.
All right. More great content from our friend Greg Pruitt next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Hey, Greg, Mondami's running wild in New York. You think that could happen in Idaho at all? The Democratic Socialists, they're saying they're eyeing the White House now. Any thoughts on that?
Probably not anytime soon. I don't see a governor, or a big, I don't know. You could argue McLean is one of the Democrat socialists. She's done a pretty good job of ruining our great capital city. But no, Kevin, and you've known this for years, I've said the bigger threat right now is these ballot initiatives, because these groups have figured out. In fact, I wrote an article on Otter, Idaho about the numbers to get to the 70,000 signatures they needed. Okay, they could almost every district that they went to, and they have to get 18 of the legislative districts to get 6%. Well, guess what? There are more Democrats for that 6% in almost all of those districts. So in theory, they don't even need Republicans to get these ballot initiatives on a ballot. That's the type of stuff that we've got to wake up to, Kevin, because that's the way you flip the state from red to purple to blue, is by taking advantages of the laws that we have and these ballot initiatives. And that's would be how you turn our state into a state like California or whatever. But in terms of some socialists running for governor and winning, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Let's go back to before we get to the ballot initiatives and obviously the state of the opposition. Let's talk about Boise. We have Mayor McLean now doing videos. We wrote about that, and I really, again, maybe I'm an old man, which I am. Maybe I'm cranky, which I am. But I don't see the benefit of, hi, I'm in the Boise River wearing a dress and the water's cold, when taxes are going up, when there's been several scandals with the police maligned by her excessive spending, and yet she runs wild and free, decorating no flagpole is safe with her.
Yeah, she's extremely tone deaf, in my opinion. I don't get it. And there's a lot of politicians like that, right? That they do stupid stuff that you're just going, oh my gosh, they're passing the biggest budget they've ever had. They just raised property taxes as much as they could. Wanted to raise it a lot more. I mean, yeah, like you said, you're running around in the river trying to act like one of us, I guess. So maybe focus on fixing the city and the real issues the city faces versus. But this has been the model, Kevin. They take over the largest cities and just run them into the ground. And that's what you're going to see. I mean, to make a point, your point. There was a video, I want to say a week and a half ago in Seattle of the commie Seattle mayor running around on a soccer field and just fell flat on her face. It was the funniest video you've ever seen. It tripped over herself, fell right on her face, and it was just kind of symbolic of how these guys run these cities. They just run them straight into the ground.
Which brings us to Ada County, and why hasn't the Ada County GOP made her a project? There's been a lot of infighting in the Ada County GOP. It's Idaho's largest county, the most prosperous county. It's where the decisions are made, and yet Ada County could be purple for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously all the commissioners are still, elected Republicans. Will that hold over time? History says no, because what you look at with Seattle and Portland, all these other big cities that they take over, eventually the conservatives in those cities just get tired of it. And you just push out further and further and further away from the larger cities, and eventually they're left to the leftists, no pun intended. And so, should somebody really take a good, hard swing at McLean politically, electorally, okay, for everyone to listen in? I mean, you need a good candidate. You need a good ground game. And you got to give it everything you can, because the issue is everybody looks at the numbers and they go, well, the numbers seem like she should be beatable. Sure. But now you're talking about a turnout of, I don't know what it is, 60 to 80% Republicans. I mean, you'd have to turn out almost everybody. And the problem, as you know, Kevin, is city elections are on the bottom of the totem pole. And so you've really got to find a candidate who can just rally, not just Republicans, but maybe independents who are like, look, this lady's nuts. I'm not Republican, but we've gone way too far the other direction. And so you've got to find a good candidate who has a good ground game and can, pull off that type of campaign. And even then, maybe it's not possible. Maybe Boise's lost. I think that it's worth taking one or two more shots to try and retake the city before we, throw in the towel.
Well, you've got to have a good support system, a good offensive line, and people have to be committed. And Boise seems to be its own entity, whether it's city council, whether it's the state senate or state house races. You don't really have a lot of ush. Before we get to the initiatives, what are politics too toxic in this state for like the average ordinary people? Because it just seems that everybody calls everybody names.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a segment of people that they don't want to deal with politics at all. And so because of, how toxic and how vicious it can be at times, that's a chunk of people. But I honestly, Kevin, I think it's less about that. And I think there's far more people who just don't care. They don't care. They don't care until it goes bad, right? Then it goes bad, and then they're like, how did this happen? And you're like, well, you remember that politics thing you said you hated, and you wanted to avoid, and you just didn't have time for it? Well, it had time for you, right? It didn't care whether you hated it or not. It's just it's the adjudication of power. There's two sides constantly fighting to maintain or take that power. So I think that segment, Kevin, the complacency segment, if you will, is significantly larger than people who deliberately stay out just because of how toxic it can be.
Speaking of toxic, we move on to the ballot initiatives. Have we ever found out about the weed? Did the weed get shot down yet? I mean, are we still counting ballots? Look, with all due respect to the Secretary of State, he's a nice man that likes to be on every media outlet that they don't ask him any tough questions. So I would just ask the Secretary of State, did we certify the weed? Have we certified the challenge to the pro-life law? Where's the press release? I mean, we have a press release on how to vote, or America 250, or here's a stuffed potato, but we don't have it on this, or have I missed it?
No. So, to be fair to Secretary McGrain, the counties have until June 30th to submit their validated signatures.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the whole process takes forever. So they have until June 30th, and then the state still has, I want to say 10 to 15 days to certify the certified signatures. Like it's crazy. So that's why you haven't heard anything official yet. But
wait a minute. With respect, shouldn't we have an update on how many counties have actually? I mean, this is a real issue. It's not like urging people to vote. This is what people are caring about. I would think that I would say, hey, we have 25 counties in, or whatever counties in. Maybe I just like the news business, Greg.
No, and I think that's fair. I think it would be fair for, maybe somebody to go, hey, Phil, can you just, you don't have to tell us even which county, hey, 25 of 44 counties have submitted signatures on weed and on the abortion one, or, just some updates. I don't think there's any laws that would prohibit him from doing that. I'd have to check. But yeah, I think some updates. What we do know is that the abortion people were submitting their signatures right away, right? Yeah. They were turning them in nonstop, certifying them. I mean, it was a real professionally ran campaign. The weed people, from what we understand and what I was told, they just gathered as much as they thought they needed from every county and then dumped it all into the counties. So they're probably taking forever. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the abortion initiative has already all been turned in by all the counties, and they're just working on the weed one currently because they didn't get them certified as they were going along.
So let's get dangerous and say most people assume the abortion challenge, aided by the media, aided by big money, aided by the false narrative that the state is losing doctors and the state is killing women, will be on the ballot. We have people saying that the Republicans have to come together. Well, the Republicans didn't stop the ballot initiative to begin with, the letter writing things. How does what does the opposition to the abortion or the end of the pro-life law look like?
Yeah, and that's the tough part. That's where that whole fundraising question comes back into play, because our side is going to be outspent. We know that. That's nothing new. The left always has way more money that they're willing to dump into these programs and these issues. Here's the thing, Kevin. I've told people. I said I think with 250,000, Honor Idaho would crush this thing. Because here's the reality: is I've talked to people in my own church. People, to your point, are not political at all, and I say, hey, do you know about this ballot initiative? Nobody knows about it. Nobody has a freaking clue right now that this thing is going to hit the ballot. And once I tell them what it can do, that it's abortion up until birth, depending on what the doctor says, they're like, wait, what? That's happening in Idaho? And they're like, oh, heck no. Okay, that's the reaction you're going to get once voters who are not plugged in understand what we're up against. So you only need enough money to educate and wake up the voters to that one reality. That's it. And this thing is done. Like, I honestly think it would get crushed if people know what it does. But that's the key, right? We have to have enough money to get to those voters to educate them on what it does.
Well, and then you have the earned media that is backing this false narrative.
Correct, and that's one reason I've always been against ballot initiatives completely. If it was up to me, we'd just abolish them, because the media is a huge propaganda machine, for these bad ones. And if you were ever to try and run a good one, if the grocery tax one had made it, they would have found some way to just constantly attack it. right, and constantly undermine it. So, yeah, the media, it's all free publicity for the pro-abortion folks this year.
So let's talk a little bit about the state of play here. Greg Pruitt joining us, Honor Idaho, Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, Idaho Dispatch, Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. A lot of people have been critical of the Speaker of the House. I say compared to his predecessor, he's doing a lot. People very, very passionately call people that support him donut eaters. How do you see the Speaker? Is he really the unseen power behind everything in Idaho, and will he keep his slot?
I mean, he's the Speaker, so he does wield a lot of power. I think he did a very good job tying himself to a lot of conservative lawmakers who rally behind him. So that certainly gave him a leg up in the fight over how the party went. I am told that him and Dorothy are fairly close. And so if you believe that, then that means that he's also wielding, good power with the state party and helping, push maybe narratives that he would like to get pushed. So, yeah, I think again, it's a Speaker, so he already does have a lot of power. And I think he's, Moyle is very savvy. He's very good at the game. He's been around for decades, so he knows how the game's played. He knows what to do. Can he keep his power? That's the big question. And it'll be interesting because he's sort of like Dorothy, and he's a very outgoing, very aggressive personality. And so some people don't like that. I think if the Main Street Caucus or the more moderate wing of the party feels like they can get him unelected as Speaker, they're certainly going to take that chance. And, since some of the more conservative people lost in the House, and you've got more moderates in there now, I think his chances are on a razor's edge.
Yeah. A couple more for our friend Greg Pruitt here at 580 KIDO. I can't talk about Idaho politics without our man, Senator Guthrie. 5 constitutional officers endorse him. The Attorney General endorses his opponent. Why do people care so much about this guy in eastern Idaho?
Well, I don't. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and so some of them I think are good friends with him. Some of them didn't want to lose. If he had lost, he was losing to David Worley, who's going to be extremely conservative. And so I think it was perhaps more of we have to keep more moderates in power or we might lose the Senate. I think that was the big concern there. But he kind of just does whatever Governor Little tells him to do, in my opinion. And so it was, imperative for them to keep him. But what does that tell you, Kevin? Okay, so you have a senator who not only blocks all the good gun legislation, he was essentially the sole reason. Okay, you could put some blame on Anthony, the Senate pro tem, as well, but he's the chair that blocks all the illegal immigration reform, all of it. So, and they put all their eggs behind defending the guy who wants to give driver's licenses to illegals. And so, go all the way back to why do people not want to donate to the party? That's why. They're sick of supporting Republicans who are basically Democrats with an R next to their name.
Yeah. Pretty wild. Okay, we had our friend Senator Zito on explain this whole thing, and this is very inside to people, but if you follow anybody on social media, and if you're not, this is entertainment purposes only. However, what do you make this whole Gang of 8 that was vilified by Dorothy Moon and all these other people, and then the Freedom Foundation, the Freedom Caucus? That's why we have you on. Can you explain what it is, what happened, and why there was a target on them from Republicans, including people on talk radio that ripped them? And I'm going, man, maybe I need to go get my Declaration of Independence because I'm really missing the whole validity of attacking lawmakers that are conservative Republicans. But can you give us some insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Gang of 8 was largely considered the most conservative wing at the Capitol. Okay. And they were very vocal and outspoken and didn't mind taking on leadership. And there were other conservative lawmakers who used to be like that, and then they kind of fell behind. It goes back to Mike Moyle again. And a lot of them just aligned with Mike Moyle, and they wanted to change maybe some of the tactics that were used to try and pass, conservative legislation. And so, yeah, you saw a concerted effort, and normally you see it just from the rhinos, right, trying to take out our most conservative lawmakers. But clearly, I don't know if there's a coordinated plan, but everybody just decided from the far left, who ran deceitful ads that the AG had to come out and go after, to the moderates, which we expected. But then you had, Dorothy Moon, who's the chair, was on audio saying she didn't want the Gang of 8 to become the Gang of 10, meaning she didn't want more of those hardline conservative lawmakers, which is like, wait, what? Because, Dorothy's considered by many to be a hardline conservative. And so there's, why is that happening? And then to your point, some radio hosts who claim to be conservative were going after them. I mean, they had the entire kitchen sink, Kevin, thrown at them, and it worked. It worked. They were able to smear those guys and just malign and attack them. And I think it caught a lot of them off guard. And, a lot of them ended up getting unelected because of it.
Greg Pruitt, Honor Idaho. Appreciate you, bro. As always, We're still here.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, Kevin. Always happy to come on.
All right, Greg Pruitt, check him out. Honor Idaho, the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. Kevin Miller on your home for Fox News, 580 KIDO. Thank you all for joining us as we move along. Phone numbers, we've given it to you. Don't forget the Boise Music Festival. And really, I was looking at something as a way, and you don't need to be inspired because you love America, but as we approach the 4th of July, there's been a lot of negative Nellies. And like I said, my feed has been giving me a ton of stuff about the Civil War. And you can get this movie on Prime or maybe even YouTube for free, but it's Martin Sheen, Steve Lang, The Civil War, Gettysburg. And I don't know if it's God and Generals. I think that's another one. But as we approach, it's not the 30th anniversary of Gettysburg, but when we talk about America, just listen to this trailer for a minute.
If you're going to fight alongside us, there's a few things I want you to know. This regiment was formed last summer. There were 1,000 of us then. There are less than 300 of us now.
They were farmers and school teachers.
We are an army out to set other men free.
Gentlemen and laborers.
Virginia's not about to let itself be ruled by some president in Washington.
Those boys in blue, they never quite seem the enemy.
I know. They came from Maine and Texas.
We cannot retreat. We cannot withdraw.
From New York and Virginia.
No 15,000 men ever made can take that bridge.
This war goes on, and the price gets ever higher. I want this to be the final battle.
A conflict that turned neighbor against neighbor.
Old friends off to war.
Friend against friend.
See you in hell, Billy Yank. See you in hell, Johnny Rip.
Failed generals of the Little Round Top. I don't know. It makes me really want to pack up the whole show and take us to Gettysburg, if you will. Like a movie came out in 1993. And, of course, every great movie has Sam Elliott in it. But when we need to be inspired, and our friend Ray just came back from D.C., and I said, it'll change your life. And I wish D.C. were closer to us because that would be very nice, if you will. But when you see that, and look, we have our own national monuments in the West. To me, before I go, I want to see Mount Rushmore. The iconic Mount Rushmore. That's what I'd like to see. And you go to D.C. and you think of all those people, and they may be stone statues, but they They preserved the Union. We go now to our own preservationist, Tea Party Bob at 580 KIDO.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. A lot of politics being talked about today.
Hold on. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead, please. To quote the great late Howie Chiswick. Go ahead, please.
I see you're quite involved today. We forget that it was the people of America that kept it free, not the politicians. So I ask you to keep an eye on communism, socialism, fascism. They're all enemies of freedom, regardless of what you want to call them. I left New York 33 years ago because I saw it was coming as the cost of everything soared. Taxes became onerous. Transportation to and from the city was just about impossible on public or private transportation. Rent control and low-income housing became more prominent as the middle class moved further out from the city, and those who were looking for the freebies moved in. Crime became more prominent. Walking around after dark or even in the daytime in less populated areas became more dangerous. And I'm not saying that is where the Treasure Valley is headed, but it is at a point of inflection that I would say we need to be careful because it can turn on a dime. Idahoans don't see what is happening right under their noses here in our state capital. Boise has a bad case of the liberal flu that is spreading westward, just like at their commitment to being a welcoming city, which is liberal speak for a sanctuary city. Taxes continue to climb. And, it's happening while I speak in both Boise and Meridian. We have a state that has doubled its budget from $6 to $14.5 billion in just 7 years. We've seen a state government go from 23 agencies to 189. Every year we hear that Idaho is the least regulated state, but that is a lie, and even Mercatus, the company that did the survey, admits that. We complain about high gas prices and gouging because our legislature stopped any future inquiries into the gouging years ago. Idahoans are paying $400 million a year from their tax dollars to support education, medical costs, and food for illegals because the ag cartel and corporate mafia of IACI don't want to pay living wages to Idahoans, so they got legislation passed through their lackey representatives who are bought and paid for to make taxpayers subsidize their labor costs. You think we are a conservative state, my friend? That is a myth. When recently we found that 5 of our elected constitutional officers, including the governor and lieutenant governor, came out to support Senator Guthrie, a legislator who claims to be a Republican, but votes 83% of the time with Democrats and tried 3 times to get driver's license for illegals.
Oh, and you and I fought him on that again and again and again. And you're right. It's a fascinating thing. Now you have to admit, except for the New York stuff, I'm not giving opinions. I had our reporter Greg Pruitt do it. So trying to stay out of your doghouse.
Greg, pretty much, he and I stood shoulder to shoulder for many years, going back with the Tea Party.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, as chairman of the State Agricultural Affairs Committee, our good friend, Senator Guthrie, has held hostage in his desk drawer 3 bills that pertain to illegal immigration in our state. Idaho is not immune from a socialist virus that is slowly spreading throughout the valley. And the handwriting basically is on the wall. The liberal virus is here and continues to spread, and judging from the 30% of Republicans who showed up to vote in the last primary.
Yeah, but you got to go out and sell it. And I don't know if there's a salesman good enough to do that because life is so good here. People are very, it's the Troupas quote, but people are very happy and here's the other one. Without Donald Trump, it doesn't appear that this batch of Republicans national and local have that same fervor. He is the draw. It's kind of like you with the ladies. When you and I go out to lunch, you love the ladies. You're the draw.
Well, I may love the ladies, but I hate the virus that I detect
Yeah.
in the schools with woke teaching, in our corporations that require.
But then that goes back to the State Board of Education, which you and I have litigated endlessly.
No, this goes back to our governor making rules and regulations he had no right to do. In fact, he even went to the legislature and he tried to get immunity.
Yeah, but wait a minute. We can go back to the pandemic, and nobody opposed him. You know who opposed him? Hold on. You and me.
Kevin, that's
you and me,
exactly
Bob.
what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's exactly where I'm going with this whole thing. Nobody opposes. Nobody says anything. I mean, they're like a bunch of sheep being led to slaughter. And it drives me nuts. You wonder why I moved up here? It's because it's away from the slaughterhouse. And that's what's going to happen down there. And by the way, Mark from Eagle, you're 100% right about Wall Street. It is a casino today. But it didn't used to be. They changed it. They gamed it. And it's a lot more difficult to make money anymore unless you just buy and hold and pray it doesn't go down. Kevin, we are in very tumultuous times. I just wanted to give you my opinion. I look at it from the outside, and I'm telling you, I do not like what's happening in this state, and it scares a living garbage out of me.
Well, we love you, Tea Party Bob. I got to run.
Take care, my friend. Have a good day.
You too. 580-KIDO. A couple of announcements. We're back on the road, being a part of Idaho's one of the biggest shows in the West, in the country, really. Saturday, we've been giving tickets away. Still your chance to get tickets today and tomorrow and Friday. Free tickets to the Boise Music Festival. A little good news. We're going to be there. We'll be introducing Julia Cole, not to be confused with Julia Child, God rest her soul. And then we will be introducing Everclear. And we look forward to hanging out with everybody, having a great time. So many Boise music festivals over the years. I marvel at it. We look at these things as institutions, but the people that make it happen, and whether you are someone who has a food truck, the carnival person, working MAV security guard Mike, our friend Todd, who's not going to be there this year, or others, we would love for you to join us, or the sponsors, the partners. Thank you very much for being a part of this event, allowing us to do this. And the people that work at our broadcast center that sell it. So thank you for that. And we'll all be working. We all work it. Say what you want about this crew. I'd put them up against anybody in the country. No one will ever outwork the Boise crew here. Whether, whatever, when there's a challenge, we all come together. So we're looking forward to throwing you the biggest party in the state of Idaho. And I'd say we rival anything in Seattle or Portland or anything else. So that's one. Number two, we are confirmed from, the first production is Mike Owens Promotions. The second production is Ugo Promotions in cooperation with Bo and Sweet William. Less than 24 hours after Boise Music Festival, we will be part of one of the most patriotic, largest bike rides in America, courtesy of High Desert Harley Davidson. We'll be right next to the Sausage Biscuits, as we always are. We look forward to hopefully seeing Jerry, formerly of Middleton, but moved back to Emmett. Bruce, Shay, a few other folks that join us for Idaho Patriot Thunder. You can still go and sign up. Proceeds go to Idaho veterans. They actually launched the thing with a cannon. It's so big. It's so significant. It's so huge that they have the state police, the Meridian police. They close portions of the interstate because they ride to Mountain Home. You get out, you have lunch. I think they have a band or something now in Mountain Home, and then you come back, and then they have, I mean, I will tell you, the folks at High Desert Harley Davidson, they really have created this unique. I'm so impressed with their outreach and their marketing. It's insane in a good way. All right, yesterday he was a bad Liberal Steve, so he's on a very short leash. Liberal Steve joins us now with Kevin Miller at 580-KIDO.
Nothing better when you're walking in bad weather to have a short leash on your dog. Kevin, you prepare yourself, you and your listeners, and actually all of America. Tonight is the night during the Brazil versus Scotland over there in Miami Gardens. Above everybody in the stadium, there's going to be a giant mothership. All my relatives will be on board. And they're going to take 700 people and players back home with them.
Maybe you.
People will just be astounded.
Are they taking you? Are they taking you?
Yes, of course they're taking me.
So you're done. So we're never going to see you ever again.
No, you'll see me again, but it'll be in a different form and a different shape. And I want to thank MAGA for ruining the lives of everybody in the world. Everybody.
What type of shape are you going to be in? That of an amoeba?
No, more of a spiritual Kevin Miller orb-looking heart.
Like a potato.
Like a pink potato.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, pink potato, yeah.
But anyway, they're coming tonight, and you heard it here first on the Kevin Miller Show. And tomorrow you can say, by God, Martha, that Liberal Steve, that hybrid, he was right on. Right on.
We'll miss you.
With that, I say, I love you.
Well, we love you too, and we'll miss you. So breaking news, Liberal Steve is going home, and the aliens are coming for him. And if you remember this song, you lived in a good America. They're coming to take me away, haha. They're coming to take me away. Keep the faith, everybody. May God bless you and your family. Thank you all for listening. Kevin Miller loves you.
Hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.
Today on the pod, we're talking to Joan, a method actor and Scratchers enthusiast. So, Joan, what do you like about playing Scratchers?
Well, as a method actor, it's about becoming the ticket. Scratching up, down, stage left, stage right.
So what's your motivation? Because your performance feels so real.
Oh, I was just tapping into my inner Scratchers.
Incredible.
Yes. Bravo me.
Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase, play, or claim.